Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Clutch Factor Sports' quote-unquote first official podcast episode of Plays, Ks, and Fadeaways. I am Hashim Kahlon. Alongside with me, I have four other individuals. We're missing our fifth, but we're coming to you quarantined from the comfort of our own homes. We're ready to talk sports, have a good time, debate, do all that other good stuff. But before we get into it, I speak for all of us here when I send out the message that we hope everyone out there is doing okay. We have people close to us that are dealing with the coronavirus pandemic, and we hope everyone's taking it seriously, practicing social distancing, take all the necessary precautions that you need to fight this virus for not only yourself, but for others. And with that being said, the reason I said quote unquote first official podcast is, we recorded one a few days ago. And what happened was the person who was moderating it, which was David, his laptop died in the middle of it. And then we just lost the file. It was just gone. And, 2 hours worth of content was gone. But, we're back here today. We sorted out the issue. And, without further ado, we'll get into the introductions. You guys have heard me talk long enough. So we'll go around. We'll get, the names, the teams that, everyone here affiliates themselves with, as well as any social media or anything else they want to plug in. And we'll start with David Nunez. David, I see the Joe Burrow background in the, obviously LSU fan here. Excited for Joe Burrow. David, go ahead.
All righty, what's going on, everybody? David Nunez coming at you at the green room for the national championship celebration. My boy Joe Burrow in the background. But good to be here. As always, big sports fan, diehard Mets fan, diehard Knicks fan, diehard Giants fan. Obviously a big LSU football fan. We're just here trying to lighten up the mood, trying to bring some positivity during this stressful time. Just trying to give you guys some quick sports news and quick sports opinions, and hopefully a lot of drama, hopefully a lot of agreeing and disagreeing going on. This will be a first of many, so hopefully you guys enjoy it.
Yes, sir. David, any Twitter, Instagram, anything?
Oh, yeah. Follow me on Twitter at WavyBoyBurtis, WavyBoyBurtis.
There we go. That is David Nunez. Next, we have Almar Garcia. Again, he's also a New York fan. Almar, go ahead.
All right. Like Hasham said, my name's Almar Garcia. Big Yankee fan, Knicks fan, and New York Giant fan. So I live a very tortured life at the moment. And my Twitter, you can find me at AMG_139, where I retweet and tweet about those New York sports teams.
There we go. That is Almar. Next, we have the Florida boy, Cinque Mills. Cinque, I'm not going to talk for you. You're a very eccentric fellow. So, Cinque, take it away.
It's your boy, Drop Top Trop, a.k.a. Papa Trop, Cinque Mills, man. The new Floridian boy, I was always a Jersey kid, but now I'm in Florida with it. Dolphins fan, so I guess that now fits because I live in Florida. I'm also a Mets fan, which hurts a lot. And I'm a Clippers fan, which hurts most of the time, except this year. But it hurts again because of the corona pandemic. You can catch me on Instagram, Twitter, at Tropicana, the juice, because I got the juice. Mills, 2 S's, 2 underscores.
All right, here we go. That is Cinque Mills. And, we'll get into him and his team because obviously we have a lot to talk about. And last but not least, we have Mr. Montclair himself, Jack Bartek. Jack, take it away.
How's it going, guys? Excited to be on the podcast here, trying to bring some normalcy during these crazy times. I'm a Net Jet fan. All the New York teams that rhyme. And as you can probably tell, I've lived a bit of a tortured sports lifestyle so far, but I still love my teams no matter what. I'm excited to go through this draft a little bit.
There you go, Jack. Any social media?
Twitter? Oh, yeah. Instagram, Twitter, basically any social media you could think of at Jack Bartek. It's just my name.
There we go. That's Jack. And for me, real quick, of course, I'm Hashim Kahlon, San Francisco 49er fan, Boston Celtic fan, and New York Yankee fan. And you can find me at Instagram and Twitter at Trill, TRILLL. That's 3 L's _Hashim, HASHAM. And in my bio, you can find my fan-sided article, in which I write articles for, basketball, all different types of topics. And, that's it for me. So, without further ado, we are going to get into our NFL draft, our mock draft, in which, we all have written up. And, for the next few weeks, I think we'll definitely be more NFL-oriented, especially with everything going on. Unless, breaking news comes out of the NBA about if they're going to resume the season or not, I think the next few weeks are definitely going to be NFL-oriented. And, without further ado, let's get into the NFL draft. So of course I have my mock draft written here. I'm pretty sure the other four gentlemen have theirs. So we'll start with the number one pick, the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think there's any doubt here who they're taking. I'm obviously they're going to take Joe Burrow with the number one pick. Hometown kid from Cincinnati he had the greatest single season, maybe any player's ever had in college football history. So,
easily. There's no debate. He's
yeah,
the greatest single season a college quarterback has ever had. Easy.
Yeah, there's not much to talk about here. Obviously, David, if you want to talk more about Joe Burrow and, because obviously we see with the background, you're a huge fan.
With the first overall pick in the 2020 draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Joseph Lee Burrow, quarterback out of Louisiana State University. There's no real debate. 60 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, national champion, Heisman winner. Again, like I said, arguably the greatest single season a quarterback has ever had. Also debatably one of the best single regular season college football teams, considered one of the best college football teams in the entire universe. You could debate for hours. I can go on and on about this. Joe Burrow, number one overall.
Yeah, and Dave is a huge LSU fan, and obviously, he's going to support Joe Burrow no matter where he goes. Almar, I don't know if you want to add anything. Obviously, Joe Burrow is going to be the number one pick. What do you have to say?
I mean, off the charts football IQ comes to mind because he is not like overly imposing athletically, but the thing that people around him talk about and rave is how smart he is and his work ethic, and how he dissects defenses from an intellectual standpoint. So what comes to mind is how consistently he made the right decisions with the football. So as a young quarterback, that might be his most important trait coming in, is how smart he is with the football, because rookies tend to be quite careless. And if Joe Burrow, brings some of what he brought into college with his smarts into the NFL, I don't think he'll struggle as much, despite Cincinnati being a Cincinnati per se.
Yeah,
and, that's all I got. That's all I have right now.
Cincinnati has been a plagued franchise for a little bit. I think it helps. Joe Burrow is, I think, 23 years old. He is a little bit of a veteran. He had his stint at Ohio State that didn't work out. He got to LSU. Again, I watched him since he was at Ohio State and he didn't get the job. He came to LSU his first year. He had an all right year. It wasn't amazing, but I think just that jump he took from year 1 to year 2, I think it's amazing. As again, he's somebody that's proven me wrong a few times. Earlier this year we had an article in which was he going to be the number one pick, and I remember I laughed in people's faces that said that Joe Burrow was going to be the number one pick, and here he is. He's the number one pick. They faced off against Clemson in the championship game. And I was one of those people that was like, all right, Oklahoma's defense is suspect. Now you're playing, the big boys in Clemson, and he went out and embarrassed them as well. So, again, I think he's going to be good. Do I think he's going to be amazing? No, but he's way too accurate. He has the leadership qualities, everything you want in a quarterback, especially in a number one pick. So, Jack, I know he's coming to your conference. What are your thoughts on Joe Burrow?
I think he's easily if you even question, there were talks about potentially the Bengals trading the pick. I think if they did that, they would be dumb. And it's easy to say he could be a bust, this and that. People have their knocks on him, but after the season that he had, it's impossible to pass on him. He has the history. You've seen the quarterback rooms that he's been in, so he's been groomed by NFL minds. His mind has been molded by NFL minds. And Almar touched on his football IQ. He is just head and shoulders above the rest of college football last season. And I think you'd be a fool not to take him with the first pick, especially in a spot where the Bengals are at. They need a guy to step in and take over in Cincinnati.
Yeah, the Andy Dalton experiment has run its course. Obviously, him and Marvin Lewis had their time, but now there's a new era being ushered in Cincinnati. So, Quay, again, obviously, your team needs a quarterback. You want Joe Burrow, I know, but obviously with him going number one, what are your thoughts on him?
He's an uber prospect. He's one of the craziest prospects we've ever seen. I don't really watch college football like that, but just know that if I know who you are, that means that you're doing something right, because I really don't watch college football. And the thing about him that, one of the biggest intangibles I see with him is that he's, the genuine person that he is. He's a pro's pro. He really started from the bottom, and now he's here. He came from Athens, Ohio, a small little town where he wasn't making that much noise. He got, as you said, he went to Ohio State, Nobody gave him a chance like that. He comes to LSU. He makes his name known. And even though LSU is known as a school who does not have great quarterbacks coming out, I think that he'll change the history and the course of LSU's quarterback talk.
Yeah.
Another thing to add on that, Almar and Jack did mention his IQ. Not sure if it was Coach O or Joe Brady, but there was a coach, neither one of his coaches or one of the people who scouted him going to LSU, whichever team drafts him is getting a second-year pro. The fact that his not only his IQ, but his mindset on the football field is just so advanced. And it's, yes, are there other talents better than him that we've seen in college? Absolutely. The first person that comes to mind is Trevor Lawrence. There's no debate. But the standard that Burrow puts himself at, and the fact that he said it himself, he doesn't lose. He hasn't had a losing season since he was 5 years old, he said. So the fact that he has that winning mentality and that winning edge, that's going to take him far. And not only that, you look at the offense he had around him. Before this year, Jefferson wasn't getting first-round looks. Probably the only person that was probably a lock to go in the first round
Jamar Chase.
Was no. Jamar Chase going out next year.
I thought you were talking about in general.
Cushenberry, their center, and Christian Fulton and Grant Delpit out of the entire team. Now you look at this team, got Patrick Queen, who just elevated his play defensively. You have Clavon Chasen, elevated his play defensively. Jefferson was a 1,200-yard receiver this year, what I believe
18 touchdowns, right?
18 or 12, yeah, one of the two. But he just, as a two-star recruit, mind you. So the fact that he not only elevated his own play, but he helped his team around him develop and become what they are. What we see now.
Yeah, I think especially his story. I think getting booted from Ohio State was probably the best thing to happen to him because
I agree.
I remember watching a bowl game. I think 2 years ago they played UCF, and he threw a pick, and on the way back he got rocked by one of the defensive players, and they returned it for a touchdown. LSU went on to win that game, but afterwards he tweeted. He was like, "Oh, I hope because UCF, ESPN was buzzing about the block, and a quarterback got ripped, and he tweeted. He's like, I'm happy with my 5 touchdowns and the win." And I think, he has that fire in him, those leadership qualities where it's like, it helps, again, that he's 23 years old. He's older than a lot of the, QB prospects. And the fact that he's been around really helps, with his leadership qualities. So, again, I think, I'm not high on him talent-wise as a lot of people are. But I think those intangibles that he has, like leadership and just like the drive he has, you can't teach that. That's something that, you build up over time and you have. So, again, I think, especially in this draft, you can't go with anybody else but Joe Burrow number 1. So that helps us move on to number 2. The Washington Redskins are on the clock. Just got Ron Rivera. Again, I think we're going to be in cahoots here. They're taking Chase Young. There were, reports of them thinking about taking Tua, and I think that would be the worst thing possible for them, especially with, the way their organization is set up. Tua would not want to go there at all. So again, I think you add Chase Young to an already, really good defensive line and make yourselves even better. He's a can't-miss prospect. I think he's the closest thing to a sure thing in this draft. So obviously, Chase Young, I want to start with Almar and David. He's coming to your division. We'll start with David. David, how do you feel about Chase Young, being a Redskin?
Off the bat, I mean, it's a little scary to think about Grant, given the fact that he was, like you said, a can't-miss prospect, arguably the best pass rusher coming into this draft. It's scary knowing that, especially with our offensive line, it's not the greatest. So just seeing him two times a year, it'll be cool, but I mean it's kind of a no-brainer at this point. I mean you have to go with Chase Young. It's the same situation with the Giants and back in when they drafted Saquon Barkley. He's another can't miss prospect that you really cannot pass up on. So it's a given, it's a gimme. I feel like with the whole Tua, the drafting Tua at 2 thing, I feel like I was all a smoke screen trying to see what they can gouge from other teams trade wise. Dwayne Haskins is your guy. I don't care what anybody says. Of course, he didn't have a great rookie season, but at the same time, look at that Redskins offense. Other than Terry McLaurin, there was no real other bright spot on that team. So, Chase Young, Washington Redskins, it's a given.
There we go. And again, we'll go to Almar, who's also a Giants fan. I'm going to ask you the same question. He's coming to your division. What are your thoughts on that and the Redskins in general?
Not looking forward to him being added onto that Washington pass rush that already features Montez Sweat, who they drafted within the last couple of years. So that is not That's not ideal, knowing that the Giants' offensive tackle situation is not the greatest. Although they have pretty good guards. I mean, Zeitler's being one of the better guards in the league. Those tackles are not. It's not promising. Nate Soto with a down year, and right tackle being, by committee, it seems. To go back to Chase Young, prototypical size, speed, athleticism, 16 and a half sacks during the college football season, which is a no Ohio State record, and led the FBS. I mean, I could go on and on about Chase Young. He is absolutely phenomenal. To me, he's the single best player coming out of this draft. Now, in any other draft, I see him going at number 1, but with Joe Burrow's unbelievable season, obviously it would make sense for him to go at number 1. But in any other draft, any other year, Chase Young would go number 1 overall, and no one would complain about it because he has the potential to be a very, very disruptive pass rusher at the next level.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to the situation last year in which obviously, in my opinion, Nick Bosa was the best player in that draft. But
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, but the fact that the number 1 team picking needs a QB, obviously, you try to draft a QB because that's that's going to be your franchise cornerstone. But again, in any other draft, Chase Young is probably going number 1. And I've heard Mel Kiper and people talk. He's probably going number 1 even in a draft with the Bosa brothers. That's how good he is.
Yeah.
He's better than the Bosa brothers. And obviously, he set the all-time sacks record at a school at which both of the Bosa brothers plays at. So, that's ridiculous in itself. And, we're going to move on to Jack here. Jack, obviously, Chase Young, Redskins, it's pretty much a done deal. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a can't miss. It's a layup. And I remember about 2 weeks ago when they were talking on ESPN about the Redskins potentially trading the pick, I berated them on our group chat because I'll pose this to you. Who are 2 of the best pass rushers in the league right now? 2 of the best edge pass rushers in the league. Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa. Where are they both from? Ohio State. I think they're doing something right there. You have a guy 6'5", 265. You can't teach his athleticism. And supposedly, I read a report the other day, he's expected to grow 3 more inches to 6'8",
yeah.
which is a scary thought. Imagine LeBron James at edge rusher. He's just a freak athlete. And although he does have a few technique things he could polish up, the Redskins are in a position where they aren't drafting for need. They're drafting for best player available, I think, is fair to say. And they don't need a quarterback like the Bengals do. They have Dwayne Haskins, who I think can be their guy moving forward if they beef up the offensive line. And I just think that Chase Young is far and away the most talented player in this draft at this point in time.
Yeah, and we'll end with seeing Quay on the Redskins. Obviously he's a can't miss prospect. He's that good. So Quay, again, obviously, you said earlier, it was just like the Nick Bosa situation. What are your thoughts on the Redskins and the drafting Chase Young potentially?
Chase Young is gonna usher in a new era of Redskins football, in the sense of Ryan Kerrigan, who was their franchise pass rusher, is getting up there in age. He is. You got a great D-line already around him, surrounded, and Jonathan Allen, a former first-round pick. Matthew Ioannidis, I want to say he was a third-rounder because I'm pretty sure he wasn't a first or a second, but I think he was a third. And then you also have Deron Payne, who they brought in last year.
Last year.
Was he last year or the year? It was one of the – yeah, I think it was last year. They brought in those 3 guys. Those are your bang, bang, bang. And you brought in Ron Rivera, who's led a Super Bowl defense before. He has. And this guy is easily the best pass rusher Ron Rivera has ever seen. And Ryan Kerrigan is getting up there in age. Now what you might want to do is you might want to flip him and help yourself out get a corner because that secondary is lacking. That's why I also think that Okudah would be a very solid pick for them because, as you know, they traded Quentin Dunbar to Seattle for a 5th-round pick. And Quentin Dunbar was coming off of a career year, but he was not something with that management. They're not doing good with their contracts and such. But Chase Young at 2, you can't get mad at it. You're getting the best player in a lower spot than he really should have gone. And of course, like Alamar said, if it wasn't for the fact of Joe Burrow playing out of his mind and playing like he's on Saturn, completely out of this world, Chase Young would be going number 1 overall.
There we go. And obviously, I think as dysfunctional as the Redskins have been, I think so far we're 2 for 2 in saying, the Bengals are going to take Joe Burrow. They're going to take Chase Young. Number 3 is where it gets
now this is where the draft begins.
Yeah.
This
So
is where the draft starts.
obviously, a lot of the mocks have, Jeff Okudah going there. I have a trade here now. I have the Chargers trading up. They'll give the Lions Desmond King and their 6th pick in order for the 3rd pick. And I say that because, a lot of a lot of teams, especially in the past couple of years, have traded up to get their QB. I think that they want Herbert because we don't know if Miami wants Herbert. Obviously, they're looking more towards Tua, but we never know with these GMs and what they put out there. So I think with them knowing Herbert is their guy, they'll give up what they need to give up to get to that spot and ensure that they get Justin Herbert. So I think it's better for the Lions too because they get a solid corner. So that helps one of their needs. Obviously, they still have a lot. They still have a lot they need to take care of. But you have Desmond King now in the corner. I think you slide into the 6th spot, which could get interesting for you. You could go defensive lineman, linebacker, whatever you want. But I think in this situation, I think that the Chargers will trade up and make sure they get their guy in Herbert. So Dan, what are your thoughts on that? What's your pick? What do you think?
I also have a trade, but I also have them trading to Miami. Now, my thought process behind this was the Lions were going to use the leverage fact of the Chargers wanting that same pick. So obviously they're going to try and gouge for the better deal. So I have Miami trading pick 5, their first second round pick, which is 39, I believe, 39, 37, and
39.
in their 5th for pick 3. And I have them drafting Justin Herbert out of Oregon, just for the fact that Tua Tagovailoa is slipping in a lot of draft boards. His health is a big question mark. Don't know how he's going to be in a NFL setting. Yes, the arm strength is there. With talent we've seen in college, of course, if it wasn't for Burrow having this insane year, Tua would have been the obvious choice of the first quarterback going off the board. But given the fact that I feel like Herbert right now, there's no question marks about his health, he's a safer option to go. So I have Justin Herbert going 3 to Miami.
All right, and obviously, that doesn't make Quay happy because we talked about this in our group chat. We'll get to him, when we get to Quay. But Almar, are you going off the rails as well here, or are you going with the traditional Jeff Okudah at 3?
Traditional. We're going with Jeffrey Okudah at number 3.
Finally, somebody with some sense.
The reasoning behind it is they traded Darius Slay to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they need a corner. So the best corner in the draft with the finest technique is Jeff Okudah. So I'm going to have Detroit taking Jeff Okudah. I'm going to go with a very sensible, safe pick for Detroit.
Yeah, he's obviously, the best corner in this draft, I think, by far. The craziest stat, I think, one of the craziest stats I've ever heard is he committed 0 penalties last year.
0 penalties.
Zero penalties.
Hold on. In college football, that sounds impossible for a corner to commit 0 penalties.
So obviously he's a plug and play guy. He'll take right over Darius Slay if you draft him. So obviously you can't go wrong with Jeff Okudah at number 3. Jack, well, who do you have going 3 to the Lions?
I'm also sitting nice and easy here. Take Okudah. Don't overthink it. A lot of people have said the Lions should think about a quarterback. Stafford still has a couple of years left on his deal. They have an out for his contract after next season. I don't know why people feel as though the Lions need to reach for a quarterback now. Stafford is fine. It's not like they're in a position where they need a quarterback to take over and win games from them. They're slowly rebuilding, and Matt Patricia can use a piece like Okudah on his defense. He can come in and be the best quarterback for almost any team in football right now. His footwork is out of this world. You mentioned he didn't commit a penalty all last year, which, like Almar said, that's almost impossible in college football. He's a lockdown man-to-man corner. The only weakness, I would say, in his game right now, that's an overstatement, is zone coverage. He didn't play a lot of it because he was so good in man coverage. So we haven't seen a lot of him in zone coverage, but man-to-man, this kid is like nailing you down. Number 1 wide receiver. He will take care of him every week. I know I hate saying this, but he's another can't-miss pick for the Lions.
Yeah, he's one of the – yeah, again, he's one of those where it's like if you draft him, no matter where you're at, you're happy because you're getting the best player at his position in the draft. And I was thinking, maybe the Lions do draft a QB and sit him behind Stafford because how long of Stafford do you really have left? Not in terms of his arm talent and stuff like that. he just hasn't got the job done. I know he hasn't had the perfect team around him and whatnot, but he has no playoff wins and I think 10+ years now in the league. So do you bring in?
I think that they can afford to wait until next year or later this year.
Yeah, that's true as well.
There's a bunch of quarterbacks out there.
Yeah, I was thinking, maybe you bring in Tua and sit him behind Stafford, but you never know. Stafford's also injury prone. I mean, he's dealt with a couple of injuries, past couple of years. If he gets injured, you have to throw Tua out there. Who knows?
Yeah.
So again,
and one more thing on Okudah, Ohio State is just an NFL factory. We've seen it with guys in the past. I mean, some of the premier
secondary
players
in the pass rush does not matter. They just produce top-level defensive prospects.
So you know what you're getting here with Okudah. He is going to be trained up, ready to go in the NFL, and Matt Patricia would look like he would make him look so good in that defense. They would work so well together. I hope they pick him because I want to see that.
There you go. All right, and we'll end with St. Quay. St. Quay, obviously, there are rumblings of the Dolphins maybe trading up from 5 to 3 to make sure that they get Tua. Are you on that train, or are you ready? Are you happy with the Lions just sticking with Okudah?
We have 14 draft picks. I want to keep 14 draft picks. It's very simple. Unless you're trading up to get something that you know for a fact, like 100% of a fact you're not getting, then you trade up. But until then, no. I'm sticking Jeffrey Okudah, cornerback, Ohio State. The last Ohio State cornerback that you seen go this high, Denzel Ward. How has he been? Yeah, he's been really good. And the thing about it, Matt Patricia, he's looked really bad in Detroit. That's the problem. But Matt Patricia is from the Patriots tree. And you know what they play in New England, right? They play that man defense. And you know what Jeffrey Okudah is very good at, right? Yes, sir. That would be that man defense. So you got a can't miss prospect. Shout out to my man Jack Bartek. You got a can't miss prospect, and you got a coach who needs help. And then you get to pair him. It's not like they have no corners. If you think about it, if you slide Okudah in that 2/1 spot, you would have Desmond Trufant and Okudah on the outside, and in the nickel you would have Justin Coleman, who they signed from Seattle. I want to say it was last year. They signed him, and he's a pretty solid nickel cornerback. So when you go like that, you have that 1-2-3 punch, and then they don't have safeties like that. But you wouldn't really need safeties at that point because you have these ridiculous, disgusting cornerback core. So I think that they should just go ahead, draft Okudah, and try to shore up at least half of that secondary and make them look way better. Because, to be honest, Matt Patricia and the GM are both playing for their jobs in 2020 to 2021.
Yeah, definitely. So me and Dan obviously have the trade coming in. Jack, Almar, and St. Quay have them going with the traditional pick that they're supposed to in Jeffrey Okudah. And with that, we move on to the number 4 pick in the draft that belongs to the New York Giants. We do have 2 Giants fans in here. So
this should be interesting.
Yeah, I'll start with mine. I think all the rumblings that you hear of Tristan Wirfs, I think he's really good. Obviously, he's the best O lineman in this draft. But I think the drop off from Simmons to the next best defender you get in the second round is a way bigger drop off than Tristan Wirfs to the next best O lineman you get in the second round. So I think with a guy like Simmons, he is like a Derwin James type where you can play him in so many different positions, and he brings a playmaker, mentality to the defense. I think obviously you do need an O-lineman still to help, Saquon and Daniel Jones, but I think you can get that in the later rounds. So I think, in my opinion, I think you should go with Isaiah Simmons in this situation. And again, we'll start with the Giants fans here. Dan, what are your thoughts on who the Giants should take at number 4?
If I'm going off pure greed and what I would want, I'd go Isaiah Simmons, but logically, I feel like the Giants will go Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle out. Where'd he come from? Is it Iowa?
Iowa.
It was Iowa.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's given the fact that where we're at, we need to shore up that line. We haven't had a good offensive line in God knows how long. So especially that you have a young quarterback in Daniel Jones, you have a superstar in Saquon Barkley who has been great with what he had. Just imagine what he can get. It's kind of a no-brainer in that situation. Tristan Wirfs.
There you go. And Almar, we talked about this before. I'm pretty sure you agree with taking an O-lineman. So, what are your thoughts?
So this is just purely the most logical pick the Giants could have, and that is taking Tristan Wirfs or any offensive tackle at number 4, because you just drafted Daniel Jones last year. You drafted Saquon Barkley the year before. You need to protect your 2 latest draft picks. You need to protect your investments. You need to keep Daniel Jones upright. because he fumbled a lot. A lot of it due to poor offensive line play from the left tackle due to Nate Solder. And you need to protect Saquon Barkley from getting hit 5 yards deep in the backfield because someone missed an assignment on their blocks. You can have great guards, but if the tackles are missing their blocks, the guards don't look as good. So you need a tackle. Now, I'm not saying Tristan Wirfs can play left tackle day one. I'm not going to put that type of pressure on him. So I would say it would make sense for the Giants to slide him over into right tackle. And then once he's ready, then slide him over to left tackle because you're still paying Nate Solder a whole lot of money. So you might as well give Nate Solder a couple games before maybe sliding Tristan Wirfs into left tackle because Tristan Wirfs is the best prospect off athletically, but his technique is not great. And if you have slightly poor technique at left tackle, you might get eaten up alive.
You're going to get beat every time.
Be eaten alive. So I wouldn't expose him too much at left tackle day one. But Tristan Wirfs at number 4 to the Giants is the best pick for them, I feel.
I feel like that'll help out, honestly, our line a lot, given the fact that Will Hernandez isn't a bad left guard.
He's a really good left guard.
He's shown a decent improvement from year 1 to year 2.
It's hard to look good at left guard when your left tackle is getting beat.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's the only real reason why he isn't talked about more than he is already. You just give him another sure body on next to him on that left side, and I feel like that our left side will be protected well.
All right, so we have both of the Giants fans going with an offensive tackle. Jack, obviously neighboring New York team, where do you expect them to go with this 4th pick?
The points that Dave and Almar brought up were very valid, and it does concern me that the Giants didn't make too many moves on the offensive line this offseason, but I feel like Isaiah Simmons has got to be the pick for them. That defense needs some help, and Simmons, he's like a chameleon on the defensive side of the ball. You can put him anywhere, and he blends in. And the one concern you might have for him is that he did play so many positions in college. So where, in the NFL, right, he's going to have to pick one spot and figure that out. And then you could shift him around occasionally throughout the game, but he'll probably sit in that linebacker spot most of the time. So he would have to learn that linebacker spot a little bit more. But the fact that he was able to play so many different positions at Division I Clemson, one of the best teams in the nation, shows he has that ability to pick up on positions quickly, learn what he has to learn, and he's just athletically a freak of nature. His effort is off the charts. He will come in and give you a spark from day one defensively, and I think that he can be that jack of all trades on the defensive side of the ball for the Giants. I have them going Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah, even when they asked him at the combine interview, what position do you play? He just looked back and he said, I play defense.
Yeah, and they will use him in different positions. Don't get me wrong. He will have to pick one specific position, or Joe Judge will pick a defensive position to assign him to, and that's where he'll get most of his reps. But there will be different looks and formations where they can rearrange him and almost kind of disguise defenses using Simmons because he's so versatile. I think he's great for any defense, and the Giants could really use him.
All right, and so I've me and Jack have gone Isaiah Simmons, Almar and David have gone Tristan Wirfs. Cinque, with you being the quote unquote tiebreaker in this, where do you think the Giants go?
Well, sorry, I'm standing on my own island because we got to trade.
Wow, talk to us. What's going on?
We got Jacksonville trading up to 4. Because guess what? The Giants is getting Yannick Ngakoue. Yes, sir. It's that time. Yes, the Giants will be getting Yannick Ngakoue. I don't know all the details, but just know the Giants are switching down to 9. They're getting Ngakoue and 9 for 4, and probably some other stuff they're gonna have to work out, But I'm not an NFL GM. I just do this for fun, But I got Jacksonville trading up, and they're not gonna select Tua Tagovailoa. They're gonna in fact select Derrick Brown, defensive tackle from Auburn.
Wow.
Now.
Wow.
Yeah. I told you this mock draft is going to change them. Now, as we've known, they've been linked to Javon Kinlaw, who is also a defensive tackle from South Carolina. But Derrick Brown is the best defensive tackle And as you know, they also traded Calais Campbell to the Ravens. They got rid. I'm pretty sure they cut Marcel Darius. They've gotten rid of Malik Jackson, and that's all happened in a year. So literally, all they have is Taven Bryan, who's been a very, very poor first-round pick for them. And Jacksonville, when they were winning games, what did they have? They had that team up front. Doug Marrone, he's just like how I said Matt Patricia's playing for his job. Doug Marrone, you're right next to him. You have to do some sort of magic to make this team look good. And you have a little bit of magic in the form of Gardner Minshew. But I feel like they want to get that defensive tackle, shore up that D-line to make it look better than what it was. Because they really, on the D-line, they had Calais Campbell as that guy that would power rush, get up there. But I think that they want to bring in Derek Brown. He's going to come in there. He's going to power rush for them, the type of defense that they do. And I think that they're going to try and get as much help in that, try to sack the quarterback as much as possible, because as of right now, they don't have a corner. Their cornerback one is Trey Herndon. They don't have a corner. So they're going to try and go back to the old front seven ways of just pounding, and hopefully getting that quarterback down to the ground.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's an outlandish trade, because obviously, I've read a report that Dave Gettleman is open to trading that fourth pick. And obviously, the Yannick Ngakoue has been linked with the Giants. If I'm the Giants, I'm happy with that trade as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't be upset.
They need an edge rusher. Y'all still, to me, don't have
one. For sure.
No, and honestly, I was reading earlier today or yesterday that Isaiah Simmons would want to be used as a pass rusher rather than a pass coverage linebacker. So I feel like that just changed the whole dynamic of what he brings to the table, given the fact that he wants to be a strictly pass rush linebacker.
So what, he wants to be like a Von Miller type?
Yeah, more like a Von Miller, Khalil Mack kind of guy. So you give us Yannick Ngakoue, give us our biggest need. At the same time, at 9, we still get any of the core 4 offensive tackles. I'm not upset with that. Maybe
you get a lot of good value.
Right, and I feel like they would have to give us more than just Yannick Ngakoue in the 9th pick, given the fact that Yannick Ngakoue's franchise tag is what, $13 million?
It might be higher than that.
We're paying Leonard Mittler.
And also you get to utilize the fact that you still have to that you have to negotiate.
Extend them. Exactly.
Yeah. So and usually when that happens, that drives his price down.
Right, and I feel like with that, I mean, we'll probably wind up getting another pick in the top 100. Like I want, they're picking the 90s. I believe they have 94. I feel like they'll just throw that in there just to sweeten the deal, gives us an extra bit of leverage in case we do want to trade back in the first round. So I wouldn't be upset with that.
Yeah, that's a trade that obviously helps the Giants. And at number 9, you get, obviously you won't get Tristan Wirfs, but you can get another offensive lineman that's, fit your needs. So, Quay has his first shakeup of the draft. And number 5, speaking of Quay, we are heading to number 5 with the Dolphins, Quay's favorite team. I think as a lot of smoke screen they're giving, I think they are going to go with Tua. That's their guy who they've wanted for, the longest. He'll sit a year behind Fitzpatrick and, obviously get healthy and do everything that he needs to do. But I think Dolphins go with Tua at number 5. And David, obviously again, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts?
At 5, since I made the trade earlier, I have the Lions at 5. They get their guy. They get Jeff Okudah at 5. It's what they wanted the entire time. On top of that, they got more draft capital. So it's kind of a no-brainer. They get their number 1 wide receiver. Their number 1 corner, excuse me. And they're good to go. Their defense will still be built the same way as they intended if they were to pick him at 3.
All right, Almar, you still have the Dolphins picking at number 5. You think they go?
I do. Pre-bad injuries, Tua Tagovailoa is the best quarterback in this draft, in my opinion. But with the very questionable bill of health, you could go Justin Herbert here, but I would go Tua because Justin Herbert has too much Jekyll and Hyde in his game for Miami to pick him at 5. So I would have Tua going at 5 because to me, he has the most arm talent out of all the quarterbacks in this draft, to me.
All right. So, again, Almar is, in cahoots with me and saying Tua is going to the Dolphins. Jack, Dolphins are in your division. Do you think they go with Tua or no?
I also think they're going to go Tua. I think that this is a no-brainer quarterback pick. So whether it's Herbert or Tua, I think that is going to be the only question mark at number 5, unless they trade it. But I think that Tua, like Almar said, the arm talent, you can't pass up on it. He was so good for Alabama when he got the opportunities. And people always question Alabama quarterbacks. But just from watching, you can see Tua Tagovailoa is not A.J. McCarron or anybody else that came before him. This guy is a different beast, and if he can stay healthy, the Dolphins get a steal at 5. This is a guy that, remember, when he took over for Alabama, won them the national championship
He
game.
was the best quarterback in college.
Yeah, and then the next year,
that second half,
he was being discussed as the no-brainer number 1 pick, can't miss prospect. And now, due to the injuries, he's fallen, of course. And I don't think that the Dolphins, no offense, Clay, are in a position where they are pressured to win now. I think they have 2 or 3 years where they're going to have this draft capital. They're going to have this money where they can slow down this process. Like Almar said, give Tua a year behind Fitzpatrick. Make sure his health, his body is right, and get his techniques and mechanics straight. And then if they can get all of that stuff right, they are going to blow this draft out of the water 1 pick in. And I think Quay's got to be happy with that pick.
Yeah, I think again Tua has the highest passer rating I think in college football history for the amount of starts he's had. He's obviously I'm not a huge before coming into the draft I wasn't a huge fan of this because looking at Alabama QBs I always thought they have the best talent everywhere, so getting to the NFL is going to be different. But you could tell with him and Joe Burrow, they are the offense. It's not just Alabama Taylor making the offense for them. They are the offense now. Alabama and LSU both have never had passing attacks like this, in their history. So, Quay, with Dolphins picking at number 5, are you on the Tua train?
We've been linked to Tua since the beginning of the year. We've been linked to Tua actually before that. When we made all those cuts and everybody said, oh, well, they'll be the worst team in the NFL, tank for Tua. We've been married to Tua for forever. And this is Chris Greer has loved Tua Tagovailoa. When I say love, I say love. I follow this page called the Fins Wave, and all Chris Greer has been talking about is Tua. That's his guy. He loves Tua. And am I in love with the pick? But that's because, like, from an injury and body standpoint, it's scary because we want to get our guy. We haven't had a guy since Marino. I was not born. I was not a Dolphins fan or really even born when Marino was out there throwing them touchdowns for us. But I think that we just stay true to ourselves. Chris Greer gets his guy at 5, and instead of having to tank, we still win games. Don't look like the worst team in the league, and we get our guy in Tua Tagovailoa.
Exactly. All right, so I think we all agree that they are going to take Tua, except David, who I think David's the only one who has obviously with his trade factor in, but that's my situation at number 6 because the number 6 is the Chargers pick, but I have them trading with the Lions. So I think the Lions, after getting Desmond King, sit at number 6 and they take Derrick Brown so they sort out a little bit of their cornerback issue and they get the best defensive tackle in the draft. So I'm going to go Lions take Derrick Brown at number 6 due to the trade with the Chargers. David, obviously in everybody else's mock draft, the Chargers are picking at the number 6 spot. Who do you think they go with at number 6?
I have the Chargers going with Tua Tagovailoa. Given the fact that I feel like they just milked the entire Miami situation. They had the whole, he's falling down our draft board, X, Y, and Z. They basically forced Miami to make that trade with the Lions. Meanwhile, they get their guy at 6 the entire time with Tua. Tua to the Chargers, safest bet. They need a quarterback. I don't think Tyrod Taylor is the answer now or next year. Bearing the fact that between now until draft day, they wind up either signing a Jameis Winston or a Cam Newton, or they make a trade for an Andy Dalton. Tua's easily their guy. So Tua Tagovailoa goes to the Chargers at the 6th pick.
All right, Almar, who do you have going? Because obviously you have Tua going to the Dolphins. So.
Well, I too have a quarterback, but his name is Justin Herbert. I'm not in love with Justin Herbert as a prospect, but because I was about to say San Diego, Los Angeles needs a quarterback. Justin Herbert's their guy. I'm not in love with Justin Herbert as a prospect because there are games where he looks like a world beater, and then there are games where it looks like, what are you doing? There are times where Oregon had to dumb down their offense because he was making questionable decisions down the field on very basic reads. So the best thing for Justin Herbert would be to maybe sit the first half of the year behind Tyrod Taylor because he is an experienced mind in that quarterback room, and learn how to dissect NFL offenses, learn the playbook, learn how to be a professional because Tyrod Taylor is, by all accounts, a consummate professional, no real issues. So that'll be a good learning experience for Justin Herbert. And to try to get some of that Jekyll out of his Jekyll and Hyde sort of game.
All right, so Almar also has the Chargers taking Justin Herbert, and I agree with that. Justin Herbert's probably my favorite QB in this draft, but I can't disagree with how erratic he is at times. And again, Oregon runs an offense where it's a lot of screen passes, and I think Justin Herbert had the highest percentage of like uncatchable passes out of the QBs in this draft. But his upside is, is ridiculous because of his size, his arm talent, all that. So, but I think
I look at Justin Herbert as being like the Josh Allen of this draft. The talent is there, the arm strength is there. He has the potential. It's just, can he put everything together? So
all right, there you go. So Jack, number 6, Chargers. Who do you got?
I hate to be so agreeable, but you guys are taking all the good picks. I'm going with Herbert as well here for the Los Angeles Chargers. I think that they do need a quarterback. Like I believe it was Dave said, Tyrod Taylor's the answer there. And I'll compare it to a different situation, the Cleveland Browns, where Tyrod Taylor last was. And he started the season with Baker Mayfield at backup. That was a team that had some talent on the defensive side of the ball, had some weapons offensively, and due to an injury, Tyrod Taylor takes a seat. Mayfield slides in and has done, I think we can agree, a pretty solid job there, especially at the end of that season when he stepped in. I think that Herbert can be in a similar spot here where he sits the first part of the season, and if things don't work out with Taylor, he can hop right in. I think he's a great athlete at the quarterback position, which is becoming the new wave in the NFL. I think the ball just fires out of his hand. I mean, he has got the best arm strength in the draft, in my opinion, and I think he does have some tweaks he has to make to his game. Like you guys said, he's inconsistent. He needs to work on his mechanics a little bit, but with a good quarterback coach and a good offensive system, I think he can work out well. I think it's the pick for the Chargers.
All right, so Jack has the Chargers taking Justin Herbert of Oregon. Cinque, who do you got for the Chargers at number 6?
Herbert, pretty simple. Y'all all nailed it on the head. Tyrod Taylor, he has Super Bowl experience because, as you do know, he did win one with the Ravens as the backup when the lights went out in the stadium. Yeah, that one. They need a quarterback. They got rid of their franchise guy in Phillip Rivers. Herbert's there. I don't know. Herbert gives me like, I don't know. He's weird. Like he's like really good but really bad at the same time. So like I don't really know how to feel about him. But yeah, they're gonna have. I think that they just because I don't see another player like even fitting. Like I don't know where else they would go. They have safeties. They have linebackers. They have all that stuff. Like so. Yeah, I got Herbert at 6.
Yeah. All right. So with that being said, we move on to number 7, the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, because of the trade that I had with the Lions and the Chargers, Jeff Okudah falls into their lap at number 7. Obviously, the best corner in the draft. I don't even think it's close. They get gifted Jeff Okudah at number 7, and you take that every day of the week and twice on Sunday. David, well, again, we'll start with you. Panthers number 7. Who do you got?
at number 7, I have the Luke Kuechly replacement, Isaiah Simmons. Honestly, it's probably the best fit defensive wise. He can literally be Luke Kuechly 2.0. He, as far as play style, as far as awareness on the field, as far as versatility, I don't think you can pass his pick up, especially where they're at and given their circumstances defensively. So Isaiah Simmons goes to Panthers at 7.
All right, Almar, who do you have the Panthers taking at number 7?
I hate to keep agreeing with Dave on a lot of these picks, but I too have Isaiah Simmons for a lot of the same reasons Dave has. He's so versatile. I mean, the quickness, the athleticism, like we said earlier, it's out of this world. He moves like a cornerback, but he has the size of a really, really big and like tall linebacker. It's freaky. I mean, 6'4", 240 pounds, and runs a 4.40. It does not make any sense. And in the NFC South, you need to match up with a lot of different offensive weapons. And a defensive player like Isaiah Simmons would be perfect for Carolina. So Isaiah Simmons is my pick.
All right, Jack, who do you have Carolina taking at number 7?
So I have the Panthers going with Derek Brown. He went at 3, and in Dave's mock draft, I believe they need help on that defensive line. And Brown is he's a beast. 6'5", 318, played in the SEC. You know he has that experience, and his technique is really good. You know he's going to cause problems for the quarterback, and I think it just fills a position of need for him. I think it's an easy pick with him falling to him.
All right, so we've all gone defense. And Quay, are you following the mold, or are you going somewhere else with the number 7 pick?
Luke Kuechly needs to be replaced, so Isaiah Simmons steps right in. Luke Kuechly shockingly retired. I feel like the way that the Panthers are set up is that middle linebacker is very, very, very important. And they have literally nobody to step into that place. I wanted them to bring in Joe Schobert in free agency, but as we all know, he went to the Jaguars instead. So I think that they need that guy who's going to come out there, play that middle linebacker spot, be the quarterback of the defense, and help bring some like stick-to-itiveness and like be the glue to that team.
All right, so again, we've all gone defense at number 7 for the Panthers, which moves us on to number 8, Arizona Cardinals. You know, we've seen the offseason they've had, acquiring one of the best receivers in the league. For me, at number 8, I think they go with Tristan Wirfs. I think he falls into their lap at number 8. You protect Kyler Murray. Obviously, you have to, he's your franchise QB. You draft him number 1. And if Tristan Wirfs is there at them for number 8, I think it's a no-brainer. David?
I also have them going offensive tackle. I actually have them going Jedrick Willis. Again, shores up the line for them, gives Kyler Murray some protection, gives him about an extra second or two of pass time to find his deep man, DeAndre Hopkins. Not him, you got Christian Kirk on the opposite side. If not him, you got Larry Fitzgerald somewhere on that field. So they're set offensively with this pick, I feel. Easy way to go, no-brainer. Jedrick Willis, Cardinals.
All right. David, I said Dave, I'm sorry. Almar, who do you have at number 8 for the Arizona Cardinals?
I was stuck between 2 offensive tackles, and I was considering going either Jedrick Wills or Mekhi Becton, but I feel like for Arizona, the better fit is Jedrick Wills. He's more of a natural right tackle, which I believe is what Arizona needs more. So he could fit right in, help open up the running game for Kyler Murray and who's their running back?
Kenyon Drake.
How can I forget Kenyon Drake? Sorry about that. So Jedrick Wills is my pick.
All right, so we've all gone offensive tackle so far. Jack, what are your thoughts?
I think that they have a big hole on the offensive line. That's their biggest need in this draft, protecting Kyler Murray. Now you brought in DeAndre Hopkins. It looks like they're trying to build a little bit of a competitor here. So let's get a guy who's a plug and play, fell into their laps at the 8th overall pick. Tristan Wirfs, I think he is the best offensive line prospect in the draft. He can play from day one, super strong kid, and can play in different schemes. I think he's a great pick for them at 8 and helps them keep building that offense and making a wall for Kyler Murray, who is the guy that they need to protect back there. He's a small dude. He played awesome last year. The last thing you need is him getting hurt. I think it's a no-brainer for them.
All right, again, so we've all gone offensive lineman once again. So, Cinco, we'll end with you. Are you breaking the mold here, or are you sticking with offensive lineman?
It's a pick so good that I bet on it. Tristan Wirfs to Arizona. Simple.
All right, so there we go. There's nothing more need to be said. Obviously, they need to protect their franchise quarterback. Again, as Jack mentioned, a guy who's a much smaller guy compared to the prototypical QBs. So you need to keep him upright, which moves us on to number 9. I still have the Jags drafting at number 9. A lot of people are saying maybe Jerry Jeudy. A lot of people are going, thinking offensive line. I have him taking Javon Kinlaw. I think him and Derek Brown, it's a toss-up maybe who's a better defensive tackle. But I think
1A, 1B.
Yeah, so I think, building through the draft, again, you start with the defensive side. I think you can't go wrong with this pick. He played in the SEC, so my pick is Javon Kinlaw from South Carolina for number 9. David, again, we'll go to you. Where do you have the Jags going with this pick?
I too have the Jags going defensive tackle, but I don't have them trading up for this guy. I have them getting Derek Brown, falls right into their laps. Again, it's basically more of a team need. At the same time, you're drafting the best available player. Kind of a no-brainer pick. Ridiculous. He's a Chris Jones, Aaron Donald type of defensive tackle where he not only gets to the running backs and stops the run, but he's also a sack getter, a major sack getter. So Jacksonville might be back with this pick.
Okay, so there we go. David is also taking a defensive tackle, not the same one as me, which moves us on to Almar. Almar, where do you have the Jaguars going with this number 9 pick?
Derek Brown.
Derek Brown. See, again, this is one of those picks. If he falls into your lap at number 9, you don't go anywhere else. You need to take Derek Brown. Yeah.
There's nothing to overthink. It's a very easy pick. They have a void at defensive tackle, and Derek Brown or Javon Kinlaw are the 2 best defensive tackles. So you can't go wrong. If I were Jacksonville, I'd go Derek Brown. But if you get Javon Kinlaw, wouldn't matter to me, to be honest.
All right. So again, we've gone defense again. Jack, I saw you putting your hands up while I was, making my point about taking Javon Kinlaw. Jack, who do you have? Is Jack
You
there?
just steal all my picks. That's why I threw my hands up when you said Javon Kinlaw. I think that they get a very nice consolation prize in Javon Kinlaw. He's 6'5", 315 pounds, and can move quick off that line. I think he's a good pick for the Jaguars and fills a position in need.
Jack, you're breaking up like a lot. We can't really hear you.
Damn, yo, Jack.
All right. So while Jack gets that sorted out, I think we'll move to you. Who do you have the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 9? Obviously, you had the trade. So not the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who do you have the Giants taking?
I got the New York Giants taking offensive tackle from Alabama, Jedrick Wills. I feel like that's a big spot that they need. Jedrick Wills is a natural right tackle. They have paid Nate Solder a crap ton of money, so I feel like they need to get that right tackle sorted out, even though they signed Cam Fleming, but I do not think Cam Fleming is a starting tackle in this league. So I have them taking Tua's offensive tackle that I wanted to fall, but he's going to New York.
All right, so we've all gone with defense. Me and Jack, before he was rudely interrupted by his technical difficulties, went with Javon Kinlaw. Dan and Almar went with Derek Brown, and Quay actually has him going offensive tackle. So that moves us on to number 10, the Cleveland Browns. I think this is another team. They need offensive line help to protect their QB. And for me, it was between Jedrick Wills and Mekhi Becton. I went with Jedrick Wills. I think, it's no brainer. You need an offensive tackle. You go with which one you think is best for you. Then, who do you have the Browns taking at number 10?
So originally, before breaking news struck about Mekhi Becton, I had Mekhi Becton going at 10 to the Browns. But since there is a funny substance in his urology test, I have them switching the plan entirely and going Javon Kinlaw at 10. Gives them a little more firepower at the line. They do need the help defensively, maybe not as much as other teams do, but again, this is more of a best available pick than the team needs. So I do have Javon Kinlaw going 10 to the Cleveland Browns.
And that's a lot of people are expecting them to go offensive line, but to go in that direction, to pair him with Myles Garrett and an already good defensive line would be just as good. Almar, who do you have them taking?
I have them taking Andrew Thomas, who to me has the best looking tape out of all the offensive tackles in the draft. And you need to protect Baker Mayfield. He needs to stay upright. He does his best work with a clean pocket. You need to protect Baker's and get these because Cleveland doesn't like to run a lot of short routes. They like a lot of their offense revolves around them like having a lot of the deeper patterns, and you need time. And to me, Andrew Thomas is the best pass protecting offensive tackle in this draft. So I would go Andrew Thomas.
All right, yeah, and Baker's another guy who's not the tallest guy in the world, so you do need to protect him and give him time to throw. Jack, where do you have the Browns going with the number 10 pick? Jack, are you there?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
There you go. You're good.
Having a little bit of a connection issue, but hopefully now we're good. I changed the Wi-Fi, so hopefully I'll be in here for good now. I considered having the Browns trade back. I don't know if they have any super needs that they need to fill here. And their guy, like Dave said, I think is Mekhi Becton. He had the issue with his substances at the draft. So luckily for them, there's two other offensive linemen on the board. I think they go Jedrick Wills, like Almar said, shore up that offensive line for Baker Mayfield, and they get a guy who can realistically probably plug in from day one.
All right. So Jack also has them taking an offensive lineman. St. Quay, where do you go with the number 10 pick if you're the Browns?
The Browns aren't taking a pick. There's a trade.
Uh-oh.
And that trade is with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow.
That is exactly what I was thinking about doing too, Clay.
Oh.
And they trade up to get that deep threat, that guy, the fastest 40 in the draft.
No. I don't like
Henry
the sound of-
Ruggs.
No, I
They
don't like
traded
the sound
up.
of
They
that.
traded up, Almar. They did.
I don't
They
like the
traded
sound of
up and
that.
they got Henry Ruggs at 10. I was trying to figure out a spot because, as you know, it's a pick so good that I had to bet on it. So I was trying to figure out where they would trade up because Henry Ruggs is not going to be there for them at 21. It's not going to happen. Unless Henry Ruggs broke both of his legs and arms and couldn't play for like 3 years. That's the only way it's happening. It's a surefire pick that he's going somewhere in the top 20. Somewhere. He's not going down to 21. So I had to think, and I had to do a little bit of digging. And I heard that Cleveland was with trading down for the 10th overall pick. And as we all know, the Eagles are very high on Sir Henry Ruggs. So I had them making a trade with each other, and I have Henry Ruggs, wide receiver from Alabama, fastest 40 for all wide receivers, going to the Philadelphia Eagles at number 10.
Wow, that would be, I think that would help both teams. Obviously, Eagles are looking for that deep threat. You know, they were riddled with injuries last year. So that's interesting. Again, we have another off-the-rails trade here in our mock draft, which leads us to number 11, Jack's favorite team, the New York Jets. Again, for me, this was a toss-up between obviously a receiver or an offensive lineman. But my philosophy has always been you build from the inside out. So I would go with the offensive lineman. I'm taking Mekhi Becton. You have to protect Sam Darnold, give him time to throw, and let him do his thing. So I'm going offensive lineman, Mekhi Becton. David, crosstown team, who do you have the Jets taking at number 11?
So unlike some Giant fans, I don't hate the Jets. I do want to see them win. They're our basically our little brother. So with the 11th pick, I do have them going offensive tackle. I have them going Andrew Thomas. It gives them what they've been needing since they drafted Sam Darnold. It's not a Quinnen Williams pick that doesn't make sense. It's a pick that basically shores up one of their biggest needs, like the Giants, that they need that solid offensive line. So Andrew Thomas to the New York Jets at number 11.
Almar, where do you have the Jets going at number 11?
I have them going offensive tackle. I don't think the substance problem would deter the New York Jets from getting their guy. That's why I had them going Mekhi Becton at number 11. You need to keep Sam Darnold upright, and you need to protect Le'Veon Bell for however long he's still there.
Yeah, exactly. I think offensive tackle, especially offensive line, is probably, after quarterback, the most important position because you need to protect your quarterback. Jack, as a Jets fan, Sam Darnold has been under a lot of pressure past few years. Do you get him outside help or do you get him the offensive line help that he needs?
I mean, we've talked about it so often over these past 2 years. Sam Darnold has no help on that offensive line, and it doesn't matter if you have Randy Moss and Calvin Johnson at wide receiver if you can't get the ball to him in time. So I think that offensive line has got to be the pick. Like you said, you build from the inside out. Andrew Thomas is on the board. Got to take him. I think that that's the way to go. I wouldn't be mad if they went CD Lamb or Jerry Jeudy, and then obviously they would have to shore up the offensive line throughout the rest of the draft. But I think that the talent discrepancy between these top four offensive linemen and the rest of the offensive linemen in the draft is bigger than the talent discrepancy between Jerry Jeudy and CD Lamb and the rest of the wide receivers you can get. So I think that Thomas has got to be the guy.
All right, so Jack has his team taking an offensive lineman with the number 11 pick. Quay, you have the team in your division, the Jets. You've seen them a few times. You see them a few times a year. Who do you have the Dolphins taking at number 11?
The Jets at
The
number
Dolphins,
11 are
Jets.
going to take the Jets. They're going to take Andrew Thomas. I know they need a wide receiver, but at the end of the day, man, you can't get it to that beautiful little CD Lamb or that Jerry Jeudy or that – well, Henry Ruggs off the board because he's going to the Eagles. But you can't get it to those guys if Sam Darnold is kissing grass all night. So you got to get him a franchise left tackle. Y'all had that turnstile Kelvin Beachum at left tackle. He's horrible. Before that, you haven't had a good left tackle since DeBrickashaw Ferguson. It's that simple. You go out there, you get the most, in my opinion, I think that he's the best tackle out of all of them. I think he's the most polished. And you go out, you get him, and you shore up that very, very poor O-line.
All right. So, again, we all have the Jets going with an offensive lineman. Moving us on to number 12, the Las Vegas Raiders, as they now are. For me, this was an easy pick. I think Jerry Jeudy is the best receiver in the draft, but they're in love with CeeDee Lamb. So I think they are going to go with CeeDee Lamb at number 12. Raiders number 12, CeeDee Lamb. David, who do you have the Raiders taking at that position?
I too have the Raiders going with a wide receiver, but I do have them going Jerry Jeudy. I just feel like Jerry Jeudy is more polished as a pass catcher and route runner. I feel like it'll somewhat give Derek Carr the limelight that he had back when, 2016, where he had his MVP-like season before he broke his leg. So it'll give him that same confidence and that same offense that he had, and it'll shore up his it'll shore up his offense. Maybe it'll somehow convince Gruden that, you know what, I am the quarterback for this team, instead of Gruden, continuously looking around trying to get other options or looking at draft capital to get him. But again, the Raiders do have another first-round pick. There is another quarterback on the board, so who knows where they go. But this pick right here, I think safest bet would be Jerry Jeudy. Even if the Raiders even if they are enamored with Lamb, I still think Jerry Jeudy's the right answer for them.
All right, so David has them taking a receiver, not the same one as me, but the other receiver in the draft. Almar, where do you have the Raiders going with the 12th pick?
I have them going Jerry Jeudy. I feel like he's the most polished receiver in this draft, and I feel like Oakland, Las Vegas. This is gonna be hard, guys. This is gonna be hard. I feel like the Raiders need a more complete pass catcher, and I feel like Jerry Jeudy is the most complete pass catcher in this draft. So I have been going Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, I agree with the best pass catcher part. Jack, where do you have the Raiders going at number 12?
They need a receiver, and the best receiver in the draft is falling right into their hands. Jerry Jeudy is explosive. He's quick. He's got great hands. He is one of the best route runner prospects that a lot of guys have said they've seen in years. I think that this is a guy you got to take. I like CeeDee Lamb, but I think that Jeudy is just more ready to play at the next level.
All right. And again, I agree with that point 100%. But from what I've read, I've seen, they've really showed interest in CeeDee Lamb. St. Quay, obviously you're the last person here. Number 12 Raiders, where do they go?
Told you. It's my favorite line today. It's a pick so good, I'll bet on it. Jerry Jeudy, Alabama. I got the Alabama boys getting drafted relatively close to each other. But Las Vegas, they need a pass catcher. Mike Mayock has said publicly that they need to address that position. You had Antonio Brown at wide receiver. He burned his feet, burned his brain, burned everything. Got himself kicked out of the NFL, right? Boom, have a nice day. You got Tyrell Williams, who is very solid, but is not a number one wide receiver. You found a steal last year in I want to say he was like a fifth rounder in Hunter Renfrow. So you found a steal there. You have two of your wide receivers. You just got to get that number one guy. And I think that Jerry Jeudy is a surefire number one guy when he gets his feet completely wet in the NFL.
All right, so there we go. We have the Raiders all taking a receiver at number 12, which moves us on to number 13, my favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers. Again, I'm not sure that we keep this pick. We do trade it, but for the purpose of the draft, CeeDee Lamb is there. Jerry Jeudy in my mock draft is there, but I think if we were to pick at number 13, we go with Henry Ruggs. I think because you have Deebo Samuel on the other side, prototypical big guy, he's built like a running back. You pair Henry Ruggs, on the other side. You have a speed guy again, a guy who's built like a running back at the other side, and George Kittle to control the middle of the field. I think he's tailor-made for Shanahan's offense. All these wide receiver reverses. Imagine just Henry Ruggs running around a defense with his speed. So again, if the Niners were to pick at number 13, I would go with Henry Ruggs from Alabama. David, where do you have the Niners going?
I too have the Niners going wide receiver, but I have them getting CeeDee Lamb. I feel like they just need that another strong wide receiver, like the same way Deebo Samuel is. That end around run play on either side would be ridiculous, and at the same time, both of them can block very well for a wide receiver. So I feel like you're getting the same player in two different drafts, and it's a win-win for both sides. For not only for CeeDee Lamb, that he'll be in an offense where he can thrive in, where Jimmy Garoppolo can get him the ball if he's allowed to throw it, since they're a run heavy offense. But it gives the Niners versatility with either receiver. You have Deebo Samuel running on the end around play. You have CeeDee Lamb running the end around play. You have screen pass galore with both of them that you could run. So it's a safe pick for both sides. CeeDee Lamb to the 49ers, pick 13.
All right, so David also has the Niners taking your receiver. Almar, if you're the Niners, where do you go with the number 13 pick?
I have them going Henry Ruggs because he's a more dynamic presence and he gives them a little different dimension. I mean, they already have Deebo Samuel, so I feel like to me it doesn't make sense for them to go CeeDee Lamb. And I feel like Henry Ruggs is the most explosive receiver in this draft, and he would bring a different dimension to the 49er offense. He can take the tops off defenses and give Jimmy G that deep threat.
All right, so there you go. Almar agrees with me in the Niners taking Henry Ruggs. Jack, if you're the Niners, where do you go with the number 13 pick?
So I think that the no-brainer pick for them is wide receiver. Losing Emmanuel Sanders gave him a hole, and I think that CeeDee Lamb is the next most polished NFL-ready guy. I think that you could make a case for Henry Ruggs, but I'm going with CeeDee Lamb. He is tremendous in traffic. He has great hands, and while he might not have that elite speed, he is still a pretty quick guy. He'll surprise you, and I think that he is ready to play at the next level, and pairing him with a team coming off a Super Bowl a Super Bowl loss, I should say, I think it's a no-brainer pick for them.
All right, we've all gone wide receiver here so far. St. Quay, who do you have the Niners taking at number 13?
I had the Niners taking Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. They traded away DeForest Buckner. Now you got your DeForest Buckner replacement. So pretty much you traded, you got a first-round pick, you got a player who can potentially turn out to be. But as we know, San Francisco has learned one thing and one thing only. You win off of doing two things, running the ball and building the trenches. And what are they going to do? They got rid of a guy, and it's more of a salary cap dump if you think about it. DeForest Buckner had to get paid by the Colts. Now San Fran doesn't have to do that. Their line still has a lot. They still got a lot of money left over. They get a player in Javon Kinlaw who is a grinded out type of player. And you get that DeForest Buckner replacement. And the thing is, wide receiver is not really it's a need, but it's not really you don't need to really go crazy for it because it's a very, very, very deep receiver class. So I feel like you get a steal at 13 because Javon Kinlaw easily should have went in the top 10. But all the trades that I had going on pushed him out. You get a steal and you get your replacement, and then you can still go and get that receiver at the in the later part of the draft.
Yeah, before you joined the call, I was talking to Almar and David about it. If I'm the Niners, I'm looking for a receiver, maybe a second corner or a defensive lineman. So you can't go wrong with Javon Kinlaw, especially.
Yeah, you definitely need a second corner because Ahkello Witherspoon is not good.
Yeah, especially if Javon Kinlaw falls into your lap at 13, you take him.
You have to take him.
Yeah, that moves us on to number 14. The Bucs newly acquired Tom Brady. They're looking to make noise this year. Again, for them at number 14, I have Andrew Thomas falling into their laps. Their offensive line last year was shaky. You add Andrew Thomas, who in a lot of mock drafts before, in the middle of the college football season, had him as a top 10 pick. So I think if Andrew Thomas is available for you at number 14, you have to take him and protect Tom Brady along with the rest of that offense. David, who do you have the Bucs going with at 14?
So I have the Bucs reaching a little bit here. I have them going Austin Jackson. Given the fact that they do, like you said, they just brought in Tom Brady. they do need a little help to shore up that line. So Austin Jackson will be a safer pick. Mekhi Becton probably would have been the more proper fit if it wasn't for his little incident. But given the circumstances, I'll go Austin Jackson for this pick. I feel like he'll fit that offensive line scheme decently well. So Austin Jackson to the Bucks at pick number 14.
All right, Almar, who do you have the Bucks taking at 14?
I also went offensive tackle, but I went with a different offensive tackle. It's kind of a reach because I feel like the Bucks line's already pretty decent. So I went with more of a project pick in Josh Jones. He gets to, sit behind some more experienced offensive linemen. And I feel like if he sits behind some of the more experienced vets and then he plays in the second half of the season, he'll do Tom Brady some good help in case any of the linemen get hurt in the second half of the season.
All right, so Almar also has them taking offensive linemen. We all have 3 different offensive linemen so far. Jack, where are you going with the number 14 pick?
I'm going to get a little bit crazy here. I'm proposing a trade, and I don't know exactly what the specifics of it will be, but you see the Denver Broncos picking next. They've talked about maybe going receiver. Henry Ruggs is the last of the big 3 on the board, and who has their eyes on him? The Philadelphia Eagles. He's not going to fall to 21, and Justin Jefferson might not even get that far. The Eagles need a receiver desperately. So, Almar, I'm sorry. The Eagles are going to trade up to this pick. Tampa is going to move back to 21 in their spot, and there will obviously have to be other draft capital included, but it'll be a straight-up pick-for-pick swap and then work out the rest of the picks. But we're only doing 1 round today, so that's all we need to figure out. And then with that pick, the Eagles will select Henry Ruggs. He's, we've said it before, incredibly quick, a deep threat, and will come in and automatically be the wide receiver 1 for Philadelphia in a division where they can make a run and win the division next year. So I think that's really going to help
division.
them.
It's not hard.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard. They just need a competent wide receiver that knows how to catch a ball.
All right, so Jack.
And Henry Ruggs is that.
Yeah, exactly. So Jack
So
has
that is overkill.
the Philadelphia Eagles trading into the number 14 spot and taking Henry Ruggs, which would immensely help their offense. Cinque, are you also on the same boat as proposing a trade, or are you going a traditional number 14 pick?
Nah, I'm going straight up, but Alomar kind of inspired me because Mekhi Becton, that drug test looking a little suspect. So they know they need an offensive tackle, and they go with that project pick in Josh Jones. As they need – I mean, Mekhi Becton is right there, but, character issues is a real serious thing. It'll literally get you kicked out of the NFL. We've seen it time and time again. You had a receiver like Justin Blackmon who got kicked out of the NFL for character issues. You have Antonio Brown going through his character issues. You have Josh Gordon going through a lot of character issues. These are people that are great on-field players, but that character issue is bad. So I have them taking Josh Jones, the left tackle. He's going to take over for I know that they re-signed that left tackle. I can't even remember the name. They franchise tagged him, brought him back. Just know that he's Donovan Smith. That's what his name is. He's horrible. Right tackle, you have DeMar Dotson. He's aging, but he's a very good player that would help a project pick like Josh Jones maybe reach his higher ceiling. It reach more of a ceiling than his floor. So I think that they go and pick Josh Jones at 14.
All right, so again, another offensive lineman. He agrees with Almar. They take Josh Jones. Jack has the trade in which Henry Ruggs goes to the Eagles with the number 14 pick. But that moves us on to number 15, the Denver Broncos. I have them taking Jerry Jeudy because in my draft, he falls to them into their lap at number 15. You have Cortland Sutton on one side. You bring in Jerry Jeudy. You have Noah Fant, who you drafted last year. You have a bunch of running backs and try to see if Drew Lock is your franchise QB. So I have them taking a receiver to, enhance the offense. David, where do you have the Broncos going at 15?
I have the Broncos going wide receiver as well. I have them going with the LSU product, Justin Jefferson. Everything I've been reading, everything I'm seeing, Broncos love Jefferson. They love his route running ability. They love what he did with Joe Burrow. Is it the best pick since given on my mock draft? I still have Henry Ruggs on the board. No, but I feel like as far as what they're looking for scheme-wise and given the fact that he is somewhat of Emmanuel Sanders-esque. He's a plug-and-play wide receiver in that situation, so I go Justin Jefferson for the Denver Broncos. Reluctantly. I'll say that reluctantly.
All right, so again, David also has a receiver going to the Broncos, number 15. Almar, where do you have the Broncos going with the number 15 pick?
Some reason I have CeeDee Lamb sliding all the way to 15, and he goes to Denver, and Denver gets their number one guy, and which will help a very goated individual in one Drew Lock with a very reliable target, who I think a lot of you guys agree is probably one of the best receivers in this draft. He's one of the big three, and Drew Lock needs a number one, so I have them going CeeDee Lamb.
All right. Again, three different receivers from, three of us. Jack, which direction are they going with number 15 pick?
So as you know, with my draft, all three of those big-time receivers are off the board. They could reach and go Justin Jefferson, but luckily for them, another big need of theirs, cornerback. C.J. Henderson still on the board out of Florida. I think he's the pick. He is very good in coverage. He needs to be reined in a little bit, and he has some issues with tackling and penalties and discipline, but that can all be fixed at the next level. Talent-wise, Henderson is ready to plug and play at the NFL level, and I think he'll give a boost to that defense. And I think although the Broncos will be a little bit disappointed that the Eagles jumped in front of him and took their guy in Henry Ruggs, they get a nice consolation prize in C.J. Henderson.
All right, so Jack has Broncos actually going cornerback. Cinque, where do you have the Broncos going with the number 15 pick?
Well, as you know, CeeDee Lamb is still on the board, and CeeDee Lamb is who they get. You pair him with Cortland Sutton. You give Drew Lock a ridiculous high-level offense. You have Melvin Gordon, you have Phillip Lindsay, you have Noah Fant, you have Cortland Sutton, and you have CeeDee Lamb. You're giving your franchise guy literally everything he needs to succeed. So I feel like CeeDee Lamb slips a little bit, falls into their lap, and Denver is very, very happy. The Mile High City is mile high ecstatic with that pick.
All right, there we go. So we all have them taking a receiver except Jack, which moves us on to number 16, the Atlanta Falcons. I could have gone C.J. Henderson here. I was thinking about it, but I think they go with A.J. Epinesa from Iowa. I think, in my opinion, he's the second best edge rusher in this draft. I saw him, especially in the bowl game against USC. He dominated. I think you can never go wrong with bringing in another edge rusher. The philosophy, a lot of it goes, you protect your QB and you get somebody to get the other QB. And I think he's somebody that fits the mold. He could also stop the run. So I have them taking A.J. Epinesa out of Iowa at number 16. David, Falcons, where do you have them going?
So I had them going between three different guys. I had them either debating between C.J. Henderson, A.J. Epinesa, or Patrick Queen. Given what their secondary is looking like, they did lose Trufant. You got to go C.J. Henderson here. I feel like it just fits the need. It fits the mold. Like Jack said, he does have a lot of on-field issues that need to be worked out. But I feel like it'll be worked out in that offensive system. He'll pair him up with another veteran DB in Keanu Neal. Keanu Neal will probably try and take him under his wing, help him out a little bit more. Granted, Keanu Neal isn't the greatest in pass coverage, but it'll help out. In the long run, I do have him going C.J. Henderson with the 17th overall pick.
All right, Almar, Falcons number 17 pick. What do they do?
Falcons number 16, 16, right?
16,
Or 17?
16.
Okay. So Falcons at 16, I had them trading that pick. They're going to go back to number 21. They're going to swap with Philadelphia, and Philadelphia finally gets a receiver in Justin Jefferson.
All right. So, again, another –
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm not – no, hold on. I'm not a fan of it personally because he will torture our terrible, terrible secondary for years to come. But for Philadelphia, it makes the most logical sense. It's basically a pick swap. And Carson Wentz gets a receiver that does not drop passes, which is a nice change for him.
All right. So, again, Eagles, they want the receiver in this draft a lot. Jack had him Jack had him trading up to 14. Cinque had him moving up to 10. And now Almar has him moving up to 16, swapping picks with the Atlanta Falcons. Jack, Atlanta Falcons, number 16. Who do they go for?
Well, the Atlanta Falcons need an edge rusher, and Clavon Chasen has fallen to them coming off a national championship at LSU. I mean, he had some injury issues there, and There's some stuff that needs to be worked out, but he can be a game changer at the NFL level. He is really talented at that edge rusher spot. And if he can stay on the field, he has a very, very high ceiling. I think the Falcons have to go Clavon Chase in their god-awful new uniforms.
All right. So Jack also has them going defense, edge rusher. Cinque, where do they go with the number 16 pick?
Their cornerback one coming into the year is Isaiah Oliver. That's a problem. They go C.J. Henderson, cornerback from Florida.
All right. Again, that's a position of need. There's not much more that needs to be said.
And in our group chat, remember what I told you? I told y'all C.J. Henderson will be a Falcon. I told y'all this.
Cinque's been adamant about that for a little while now, so we'll see how that works out. But again, a position of need. They need a quarterback. If they go quarterback, there's nothing wrong with that. I think the Atlanta Falcons will be happy with C.J. Henderson. That brings us to number 17, probably the most polarizing team in football, the Dallas Cowboys. I think
probably.
I mean, yeah. Now that the Patriots are done with their terrible reign, I think Cowboys take that top spot undoubtedly. But in my opinion, I think they get C.J. Henderson here. I think, especially losing Byron Jones, you need a quarterback. I think your linebackers are obviously really good. You have edge rushers. You have, your defensive line is good. I think you need to shore up that secondary, and I think you go with C.J. Henderson out of Florida. David, again, they're in your division. Where do you think they go at number 17?
Roger Goodell is going to get to the podium. He's going to have a flashcard in his hand and say, we have a trade to announce. Jerry Jones is going to do a Jerry Jones thing. Look for star power. The Dallas Cowboys trade their first-round pick, second-round pick, 2021 first, and 2021 fourth to the Jets for Jamal Adams.
Wow.
So Jamal Adams will be a Cowboy. He will beef up a position that is not needed since they just signed Clinton Dix, but he will beef up a secondary, and they will definitely use him in pass coverage. They will use him in pass rushability. Do I like it for the Cowboys? Absolutely not. I probably hate the Cowboys more than anybody else does here. But with the 17th overall pick, the New York Jets get their number one wide receiver of the future, Henry Ruggs III. He falls all the way to 17 in my draft.
We love that.
And the Jets that's the only reason why the Jets make this move.
I don't mean to butt in on your pick here, David, but if the Jets were to trade Jamal Adams, which I don't think they will, and all of this nonsense is true that's come out the last week, that is the best possible situation. You turn a safety that you're going to have to pay $16 million to into a wide receiver that can plug and play. Not only do you get your offensive lineman in the first round, you get one of the big three wide receivers. Great job for the Jets if it comes down to them having to trade Jamal Adams.
Right. So, Henry Ruggs, a burner. He gives them what Robbie Anderson kind of gave them, just with a little better catching ability.
And for $10 million less.
Exactly. So, at the same time, you get rid of a disgruntled player who you had to pay, who, in my mind, honestly doesn't even want to play for the Jets anymore. I feel like he's made it obvious last year. He's tired of losing. So, you get him out of there. You get him to the team that he wants to go to. And at the same time, you get your guy with Henry Ruggs. But at the same time, this trade only happens because Henry Ruggs is still on the board at 17.
All right, so David, if that were to happen, probably the biggest drafting trade in recent memory. So Almar, do you have a wacky trade at number 17? Or are you going with a traditional pick?
No, I do not have a wacky trade. But to go back to that wacky trade for a second, wow, where do I begin with that? I mean, the NFC East would flip over on its head and become way more competitive with Jamal Adams going to the Dallas Cowboys. And I do not want that. Dave, don't even talk about that. Don't speak that into existence. And for the Jets, God, don't, oh no. The thought of that makes me absolutely sick. And Jack, I don't know, being a fan of New York sports, you would know that whenever there's smoke, there's a little bit of fire when it comes to disgruntled superstar players in any of those sports. So I'd be very, very careful with the Jamal Adams news. So this might be in the realm of possibility.
Oh, I
But to
don't
go,
I don't doubt that it's in the realm of possibility. I just think that at the end of the day, what might seem to be a problem now, I think, is just Jamal Adams' team pushing and nudging the Jets to get that contract done. However, Joe Douglas is in his first draft as a GM. Let the man focus on it for a week. We'll get back to you, Jamal. Don't worry, you'll get your bag. You've earned it. But, Joe Douglas has got more important things to worry about right now. Jamal Adams says he wants to win. This is where it starts.
I hear.
Another reason why I have them giving up so much for Jamal Adams. Jerry Jones is known for being a major overspender when it comes down to making trades. And at the same time, Minka Fitzpatrick is a good safety, but he's not better than Jamal Adams. So the Miami Dolphins got a first-round pick for Minka Fitzpatrick. Jamal Adams is definitely going to warrant a bigger repay.
I hear.
I've told you guys on Jamal Adams that the Jets are going to trade him. They're going to get definitely a first and at least 2 seconds, if not another first. So I think that that's one that makes sense, actually.
I hear you. All right, so to go back to my pick, I had the Cowboys going with C.J. Henderson. With the departure of Byron Jones, they need a new number one corner. I feel like he's going to be a plug and play option due to the lack of depth at the Cowboys secondary. So I'm going to go with C.J. Henderson at 17.
All right, so C.J. Henderson to the Cowboys with the number 17 pick. Jack, Cowboys number 17. Where do they go?
And, I like David's thought process. I'm going to go on the same kind of track as him. He has them getting an LSU safety. I'll have them also getting an LSU safety, except this one doesn't warrant $16 million, doesn't warrant extra draft capital. Grant Delpit is sitting right there for him. Jamal Adams was a great player at LSU. Grant Delpit had also a very good career there. They are DBU, as they say. It's a competition between LSU and Ohio State, but LSU breeds defensive backs. I think this is an easy pick for them.
All right, so LSU safety, not Jamal Adams, but Grant Delpit. Cinque, where do the Cowboys go at number 17?
I got another LSU player coming there, but no, it's not Grant Delpit. It is outside linebacker Kalavion Chason coming to their team. They just lost Robert Quinn, so this is your Robert Quinn replacement. Pretty simple in that aspect. He's a pretty good pass rusher. He excelled his last year on being part of the greatest college football team to ever be assembled. That's simple. So, yeah, and they need more pass rushing because, to be honest, after DeMarcus Lawrence, what really do you have? You have Tristan Hill, who they spent the second-round pick on last year, who's been underwhelming. You have Tyron Crawford, who to me is very trash. You have Aldon Smith, which was the shock of the century when they signed him and brought him back in the league after 3 years. But do you really think you're going to get what he put up with San Francisco? 20 sacks? It's not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. So I feel like they just bring in more firepower to get to the offensive line. And as you know, in the NFC East, the current leader of that division is the Philadelphia Eagles, who have a very elite offensive line. So you try to fight fire with fire, and you go and get Kalavion Chason and try to get to that quarterback of Carson Wentz.
All right, so with that being said, we move on to number 18, the Dolphins. The second of their 3 picks in the first round. I have Klayvon Chason falling to them at number 18. And again, a gift in their lap. You add another young defensive player to improve that defense, which you signed Kyle Van Noy, Byron Jones. I think this is the way to do it. You grab the best available player. He ensures your defensive line, and I think if he is there at 18, that's who you take. David, Dolphins at 18, a lot of draft capital. Who do they take?
I do also have them taking Klayvon Chason. I feel like it makes the most sense for them. Again, best available. I was debating between either Klayvon Chason or going Mekhi Becton, but again, Becton's issues, you don't know what's going to happen to him. So Klayvon Chason does seem like the safer pick. So Chason to 18 to Miami. Amar, where do you think you're going next?
18 to Miami. I don't have them going Quavon Chason. I have them going with Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma. I feel like the Dolphins could use some linebacking help, and I feel like he's the best available linebacker at this point. So I have them going Kenneth Murray.
Jack, where do you see the Miami Dolphins going since they are in division rival?
I debated a lot on this pick, and I'm still not sure of it as I'm saying it. But the Dolphins need some help on that offensive line, and I have them taking Josh Jones. They could go a bunch of different directions here, but I think Josh Jones is a nice option for them. He needs some work. I don't know if he's necessarily a plug-and-play option. Maybe he is. He won't be great from the get-go, but he has a really high ceiling. And, while he needs to be polished up a little bit, I said it before about the Tua Tagovailoa pick. The Dolphins aren't looking to win next year. They're not a right away team. They're a process right now. They're the 76ers of the NBA or of the NFL right now. Trust the process. They got these picks. They're going to bring in high ceiling guys and trust Brian Flores to develop him. And I bet he will because he did a pretty good job last year. So Josh Jones is going to be their pick.
Thinkway doesn't seem to like the last two picks said.
No, he does not.
Where do you see your Miami Dolphins going here at pick 18?
And Roger Goodell from his house in Bronxville will go right up to the computer and he will say, with the 18th pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle from Louisville. Now, we have been known to select offensive tackles with problems. Shout out to Laramie Tunsil, the Bong Ripper. He was seen ripping the living bejesus out of a bong right before he was supposed to be. He was the consensus number 1 overall pick.
10 minutes before the draft started.
10 minutes before the draft started.
Video of him with a gas mask bong.
Bong ripping it on his face. So guess what? That's a drug-related problem. And what does Mekhi Becton have? Drug-related problems. And what does Mekhi Becton play? Left tackle. What does Laramie Tunsil play? Left tackle. And was Laramie Tunsil supposed to be there for us? Absolutely not. And is Mekhi Becton supposed to be there for us? Absolutely not. So you see where I'm going here. We've done it before, and as you can see, what do we do with Laramie Tunsil? We bred Laramie Tunsil into being one of the best offensive tackles in the league. Then we flipped him, even though I was not happy with the flip at first. But now, as you can see, it's causing the Texans a whole lot of problems, making them a very dysfunctional organization. So I say that we get Mekhi Becton, I don't even know, he's like 6'8", 360, the walking mound of man that he is. He's going to be our franchise left tackle for years to come and protect my man Tua Tagovailoa.
So a lot of difference at this pick here. Next, we do have the Las Vegas Raiders at pick 19. So with this one, I was debating between a couple different guys. I was debating between a Jordan Love, Christian Fulton, Xavier McKinney. But ultimately, I feel like Gruden does figure out and gets his guy who he feels like can lead the Raiders for the future in Jordan Love at pick 19. Yes, very bonky pick, but I feel like he can somehow, some way work with the so-called QB whisperer of John Gruden, excuse me. And was that right? Is it John Gruden or Jay Gruden? Which one's a good one?
John.
Yeah, there you go. John Gruden. So he'll work with the QB whisperer and John Gruden, and maybe, you never know, he was somewhat compared to Patrick Mahomes early in the draft process. Could he somehow be Patrick Mahomes-esque, or will he be Blake Bortles-esque? We'll find out. So pick 19, Las Vegas Raiders. I have them selecting Jordan Love.
Interesting. I'm back. I had to go run some errands real quick, especially with everything going on. I suppose we're on the Raiders pick, correct? All right. So with the Raiders at 19, I don't have them going QB. I have them going CB as a cornerback, and I have them taking Jalen Johnson out of Utah. Again, Utah's defense was one of the best in the country last year. I think, again, it's a position of need for the Raiders. You go after a cornerback, you get your cornerback, and he helps you immensely. Almar at 19, who do you have?
I also have them going cornerback, but I have them going with AJ Terrell from Clemson.
All right, yeah, and AJ Terrell is the cornerback who, you know, a lot of people, the last image they have of him is what happened to him in the national championship game.
Let me explain.
Yeah.
Let me explain. I know the lasting image of AJ Terrell is not the most flattering, but to me, he's the best available cornerback that is still like in my draft that I still have. And I mean, they drafted Trayvon Mullen last year. He played all 16 games for Las Vegas. So it seems as though Las Vegas likes their cornerbacks from Clemson. So with that, I have them going AJ Terrell with their first round pick.
All right. Jack, where do you have them going?
Funnily enough, I'm also going cornerback, but I'm not going to go with the same pick as either of you two. I'm going Christian Fulton out of LSU. He was a little bit of a late bloomer, had a tough start to his career in Baton Rouge, but towards the end of his career, he showed a lot of good signs, and he has a lot of potential to become a great cornerback in this league. The Raiders fill a need. Easy pick there for me.
All right, Cinque, with the number 19 pick, where do you have the Raiders going?
Well, I got the Raiders going with a cornerback, and the cornerback is the same as Sir Jack. It will be Christian Fulton, cornerback from DBU. Do you know who their number one corner is coming into this year?
I could not tell you.
I don't even
I
know.
do not
And I
know.
know a lot of players. I can't even tell you. It was supposed to be Eli Apple. He got messed up because of coronavirus. You can't do physicals, yada, yada, numbers. I don't know who their corners are. I'm pretty sure they don't even have Daryl Worley. They traded Gary and Conley. They literally have nobody at cornerback. Like, there might be just a blank spot there. So you got to put somebody there. And I think that they're going to go out and they're going to have to draft Christian Fulton.
All right, so we all have them taking a cornerback except David, who has them taking Jordan Love, which is, you know, interesting pick. That moves us on to number 20 with the Jacksonville Jaguars picking at number 20. Again, I have them going defense here. I have them going Trevon Diggs from Alabama, cornerback. I think, you know, again, for them, I think their main priority should be building the defensive end because we all agree that they are tanking for Trevor Lawrence. I think that is what's going to happen. And, again, I think they go defense side of the ball here. Trevon Diggs, cornerback from Alabama. David, where do you have them going with the number 20 pick?
I also have them going cornerback. I have them taking Christian Fulton here. Literally, it gives them any sort of cornerback depth. It'll give them their AJ Bouye, Jalen Ramsey replacement. Will he come in and be as dominant as they were? Absolutely not. Probably not his first year. But with Christian Fulton, he is a project player. You got to give him the reps. You got to let him play. That's the only real way you'll see any improvement from him. So at pick 20, you have the LSU product, Christian Fulton.
All right. Almar, where do you have them going with that pick?
I have them going quarterback. I have them going with Jordan Love.
Interesting.
Because I'm not sure if they look at Gardner Minshew as their long-term solution, as their full-time starter. I'm not sure if they look at him as a flash in the pan, I think he was a fifth-round pick last year? Six. So I don't think they look at him as their full-time starter. So I feel like they take a swing, hope they have something with Jordan Love.
All right. So interesting. We have Almar having the Jaguars take Jordan Love with the number 20 pick. Jack, where are you going with this?
So I'm going to half agree with you and Dave going defensive backfield, but instead of cornerback, I'm going to go safety. Xavier McKinney is still on the board from Alabama. Very versatile safety. He can stay on the field pretty much every defensive down. He has a good eye for the ball, great football IQ. I think he can really shore up that defensive backfield and tank for Trevor.
There we go. All right. Cinque, number 20, Jacksonville Jaguars. Where do they go?
I think Jack stole my mock draft because I'm going with Xavier McKinney. They have no safeties. They got rid of Tayshaun Gibson last year. They have Ronnie Harrison from Alabama, so I guess they want to put the Bama boys together and get the band back together. So I don't really know that much about Xavier McKinney because I told you I don't watch college football, but he's like the second best safety in the draft, and I think that they just go out and go get him.
All right. So we all have the Jaguars going defensive backfield except Almar, who has them taking potentially their QB for the future. That moves on to number 21. I know, you know, there's been trades with the Eagles, so we're going to be all over the place with this one. I have the Eagles, for the sake of just the draft and, the trades make everything so hectic. I have the Eagles still picking at 21. And if they are at 21, I have them taking Justin Jefferson. If, again, they need a receiver, Alshon Jeffrey, he's good, but you can't really depend on him to stay healthy. You have good tight ends, but I think if you bring in Justin Jefferson, his route tree and just the way that he is on the football field, I think Justin Jefferson is your pick at number 21. David, I'm not sure if you made a trade with the Eagles yet or no, but what team do you have at 21 and what pick?
I still have them with Philadelphia. I did debate with them trading this pick along with a third-round pick to the Cleveland Browns for Sir Odell Beckham. But realistically, I don't feel like that would be the move to go. So I do have them. I'm actually debating between two players right now, but I do feel like instead of going with the consensus wide receiver, they do go secondary help. Yes, they did get Darius Slay, but that does not help their secondary at all, given the fact that they did lose Malcolm Jenkins. So I have their Malcolm Jenkins replacement here in being Xavier McKinney, going to the Philadelphia Eagles at pick 21. Like Jack said, very versatile. Can play the pass. He can play the run. He's a good zone cover safety, a very hard-hitting safety. Feel like he's the way to go for them. He's not going to give you the same value and the same playmaking styles as Malcolm Jenkins because he's a rookie, but give him a few years, he will be one of the best safeties in the league, in my opinion. So Xavier McKinney at 21 to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, that's interesting because, the way that they're set up is, especially after this last year that just transpired, a lot of fans are expecting them to either trade. I honestly think they are going to trade up, but they expect them to trade up, or if not trade up, get a receiver at 21. So, if they do go defense, it'll be interesting to see how the fans respond. And because we all know how Philly fans are.
Yeah.
Very level-headed people.
Yeah.
The most calm people you'll ever meet in your entire life. No.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that number 21 pick, if they even have it. Almar, where do you have the team that you have at number 21 going?
Okay, so I have Atlanta at 21, and I'm between two players. I'm between Javon Kinlaw, who was slid all the way to 21, or Clavon Chason. I'm not sure who to go with at number 21. I'm leaning towards Javon Kinlaw because he's the best player available still at 21. So, yeah, I'll have them take Javon Kinlaw 21 because he's the best player available for Atlanta.
If he falls down to 21, that I think that would be the steal.
Yeah, both of those guys falling down to 21. That would be insane.
I'm not sure. Do the Eagles run a 3-4 or 4-3? What?
I believe they run 3-4. Oh, 4-3.
Yeah. So just imagine Fletcher Cox and Javon Kinlaw.
They'd have a rotation of like Fletcher Cox, Javon Kinlaw, Derek Barnett, Malik Jackson.
No.
You already can't run the ball on them. So imagine
you Giant fans are getting beat up in these mock drafts, I swear.
We are getting absolutely annihilated.
Javon Kinlaw next to Fletcher Cox with Malik Jackson, Derek Barnett, Josh Sweat. Oh, my Lord.
All right, Jack, I know you have – I remember you had the Bucs to get it going back to 21. So where did the Bucs go with the number 21 pick?
I had the Buccaneers trading back to this pick, and even when they made the trade, they could not have expected this. They are like a kid with a candy bar right here. Mekhi Becton, it's a no-brainer. You look at Tampa Bay right now, they need offensive line help. They're getting one of the top offensive linemen in the draft. He's arguably the most NFL ready, needs some technique help, but the tools that he has make him a plug and play option. And of course, there's the issues with him and his drug test. We don't know exactly what's going on there, but you're bringing him into Tampa Bay where you have Tom Brady coming out of New England and Bruce Arians, two of the most well-respected leaders in football. If there are two guys who can get a locker room right and get a rookie's head on straight, it's those two. So I'm trusting them to set him down the right path. And Tom Brady needs some help on that offensive line. Go get Mekhi Becton. It's an easy pick falling into their laps.
All right, so Jack has the Buccaneers drafting at 21, drafting an offensive tackle to help Brady. Quay, if I'm not mistaken, you have the Browns picking at 21, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And fire up the meme machine. We got Ezra Cleveland going to Cleveland. Fire it up. Fire up the meme machine. I read a report saying that the Browns want to trade back, and the person that they are targeting is Ezra Cleveland. So I like my sources. I believe in my sources. So therefore, I will go with my sources. And my sources have them trading back to 21 with the Eagles and firing up the meme machine and bringing Ezra Cleveland to Cleveland.
All right, and again, a lot of us had the Browns taking an offensive lineman. You also have them taking an offensive lineman. So, again, just something to help out Baker Mayfield in that offense already. That moves us on to, let me flip my page, number 22. The Minnesota Vikings. They've lost a lot of people this offseason. They lost Stephon Diggs. I was debating going receiver here. I went with Christian Fulton from LSU. Again, you lose Xavier Rhodes, who didn't have a great year last year, but you add Christian Fulton to a defense that needs a little bit of patching up, especially in the secondary. So I go Christian Fulton, cornerback from LSU. David, who do you have the Vikings taking at 22?
I have the Minnesota Vikings being the most petty team in football and taking Trayvon Diggs with the 22nd pick of this draft.
Goodness
He was
gracious.
the brother of Stephon Diggs.
Exactly.
Oh, my
Just traded his
goodness.
brother away. Even more petty, they're picking him with the same pick that they received in trading his brother. So Minnesota getting Diggs, and let's hopefully that might add a little fuel under Trayvon Diggs, but I'm sorry, Stefan Diggs, but we'll see how it works out. Do they play each other this year? I don't think they play each other this year, but
Not sure.
you never know.
Thanksgiving dinner would be very awkward.
Oh,
Extremely.
that's so awkward.
Like Quay said, fire the meme machine if they do take him with that pick.
Right.
Almore, where do you have the Vikings going at number 22?
I have them going with Clavon Chason, as he's the best player available, and it can only help their pass rush. Having Clavon Chason dropped to number 22.
Yeah, again, at that point, you're drafting the best player available. And if he's there, then you can't go wrong with taking him. So that would be a great pick for them at 22. Jack, where do you have the Minnesota Vikings going at number 22?
Amazingly, for the second time this draft already, I am agreeing with you and Dave that they're going to go cornerback. They lost Xavier Rhodes. They need somebody to replace him there, but I'm going to go with a different guy than both of you again, and I'll say somebody that Hashem already took. Jalen Johnson is the pick for them, one of the best defenses in the nation last year, Utah. He's one of the best press coverage corners in the country, and he is ready to plug in and play. He has all the abilities to be a lockdown corner. He showed versatility, and I think it's a really good pick for the Vikings at 22.
All right. And Cinque, Vikings number 22. They have a lot of positions that they need to patch up after the offseason. So where do they go?
Well, they get a very good guy in the name of Jetta J, Justin Jefferson, falling to them at 22. They just traded away Stephon Diggs, so guess what they do? They take that pick that they got from the Stephon Diggs trade, and they get their wide receiver number 2 of the future. Olabisi Johnson is pretty solid. I like what he showcased last year, but Olabisi Johnson is not a wide receiver 2. He's better suited as a wide receiver 3, and I feel like as a value pick, this is better than when they drafted Laquan Treadwell. And Jetta J had an amazing season, and I think Jetta J will fit perfectly as that Stephon Diggs like wide receiver next to Adam Thielen in that high-powered offense with Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, Irv Smith Jr., and Kyle Rudolph.
All right, and that's what it came down for me. It was either wide receiver or cornerback. I went with the latter. You went with the receiver. That moves on to number 23. The Patriots haven't had the best offseason. Lost, arguably the greatest quarterback, in history. I was debating, do they take quarterback this year? But that's not the Patriots' MO. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. When they drafted Jimmy G, he was looked at as a reach because they took him in the 2nd round, because that's not what they do. So I have them going Austin Jackson here at number 23. Grab an offensive lineman. Patriots aren't flashy. They're not going to go out of the box. And, they tried it last year with N'Keal Harry, and we saw how that worked out. Again, I think N'Keal Harry is going to be a good receiver. But just throwing them into the Patriots system right away was not a good fit. So I think they go offensive tackle here and Austin Jackson at 23. David, the Patriots are an enigma. We don't know what they'll do. Who do you have them taking at 23?
I have them going on the opposite side of the ball. I have them going defense. I do have them going with another LSU player in Patrick Queen. It'll shore up basically their loss with Kyle Van Noy. It'll give them a good alternative to Jamie Collins. So I just feel like as far as scheme fit, it's probably the best fit. It's not the best overall player available, but as far as scheme fit and the Belichick defense, Patrick Queen fits perfectly there. You could play him on the inside linebacker. You could play him on the outside linebacker. You could play him at safety if you wanted to. So he is decently versatile. He's just not one of the most flashiest players in the draft. He is very raw as a prospect. It will take a couple of years for him to actually develop into the player that we saw him at LSU, especially this past season. But Patrick Queen might be the way to go.
All right. So I went offensive tackle. David went linebacker. Almar, where are you going with the number 23 pick for the Patriots?
I'm gonna go with pass rusher. I'm gonna have them take AJ Espinosa from Iowa. Belichick loves versatile players, and Espinosa can play inside, he can play outside, and he's very, very, very physical. He's very, very big, and I feel like it's a good value pick for Bill Belichick, who loves versatility in his players. And with AJ Espinosa, he's the most versatile pass rusher that they have left, that we have right now in the first
All right. So David and Almar have gone defense. Jack, the Patriots in your division. Where do you think they go with the number 23 pick?
I'm going to say they're going offensive side of the ball. They're finding their Tom Brady replacement. I don't think they have the answer at quarterback right now. They're going to find it with this first-round pick. Jordan Love out of Utah State is going to be the pick for them. He has great arm talent, great mobility, all the skills to be a really top-of-the-line NFL quarterback. One of the biggest concerns is his decision-making. And the Patriots take that away with their scheme pretty much. One of the biggest jokes about Tom Brady was all he does is throw checkdowns. So put him in this simplistic offense where Bill Belichick is making him look great from day one. You know, Belichick loves his projects. He's going to get one here in Jordan Love and turn him into the next Tom Brady. Maybe not that much, but he'll make him a solid NFL quarterback.
Gonna give Bill Belichick a mobile quarterback? Oh my goodness!
It's a scary thought. And Almar, all those noises and sounds that you were making about the Giants before, when Jamal Adams went to the Cowboys and Henry Ruggs went to the Eagles, that's how I feel sending Jordan Love to the Patriots.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, again for me, I was thinking about having the Patriots draft QB, but it's something I haven't seen them do before. But again, it is a new era. Brady's gone. Who knows? They might go out and get their replacement in the first round. That's interesting. Cinque again. Dolphins are also in the same division as the Patriots. Where do you see the Patriots going with this number 23 pick?
I got the Patriots going out and getting Jordan Love, quarterback from Utah State. Jarrett Stidham, I mean, as respectfully as I'm going to put it, he's garbage. I don't believe in him. I don't think they believe in him. And the little short spurts that they decided to put him in, he looked absolutely unmatched. Like, he looked like he was not NFL ready. There was a reason why he was picked that late, even though Tom Brady was picked that late. But, Tom Brady had, like, combine issues and yada, yada. Like, I just think that he's just not a good player. So, yeah, I got him going out and getting Jordan Love at 23. It's 23, right? Yeah, 23. Yeah.
All right, interesting is, if the Patriots do go out in QB in the first round, it'll be the first time in a while since that's happened. That moves us on to number 24. Again, the Saints were another team I was debating. Maybe they draft Jordan Love, have him sit behind Breeze, but they have the whole Taysom Hill situation. We'll see how they handle that. I went defense side of the ball ultimately, with them taking Kenneth Murray at number 24. In a terrible Oklahoma defense, he was easily the best player. I think you plug him in a lot of other defenses, he'll be just as good. Kenneth Murray, I think, is the safest pick at number 24 for the Saints. David, number 24, New Orleans Saints. Do you have them taking the predecessor to Drew Brees, or do you have them going somewhere else?
I have them going cornerback. I have them getting a very talented press coverage man, Jalen Johnson. Janoris Jenkins is a shell of what he used to be. I don't relatively see him even being good enough to be a CB2. I'd maybe use him in the slot, but Jalen Johnson is probably the best available corner left, especially on my mock draft right now. He's the easiest way to go. Gives Lattimore some other some other leverage behind him, whether he wants to stay, maybe, if his little ego issues come back. I'm the number one cornerback for this team. Same time, it gives him some help on the secondary wise that he's not doing everything at once. So Jalen Johnson at number 24, I feel like is the ultimate choice.
All right. Almar, number 24, Saints. Where do you have them going?
I have them going also on defense, but I have them taking Patrick Queen. I feel like linebacker is a big need for New Orleans, and I believe 3 of their linebackers are due for free agency next offseason. So you take a nice linebacker that's a position of need in the first round, and Patrick Queen played phenomenally for LSU down the stretch in their title run. So I'll take Patrick Queen.
All right. Both of you guys have gone defense. I've gone defense as well. Jack, where do you have the Saints going at 24?
Almar stole my thunder. These LSU defenders are flying off the board, and rightfully so after a great season defensively for that program. Patrick Queen comes off and will become the next linebacker for the New Orleans Saints. Like you mentioned, they are going to have a huge hole there next year. They already have a hole right now. I don't know if Queen is a plug-and-play at linebacker 1, but he really high upside. He projects well as an NFL linebacker. He's got some great versatility. And while there's some stuff that needs to be fixed, and he didn't have the really great prestigious college career that some of these other guys may have had, I think he's going to have a solid career.
All right. So Jack and Almar both have the Saints taking Patrick Queen. Cinque, where do you have them going at number 24?
I have the Saints getting a linebacker, which was a position of need, and they're going out and getting that LSU guy, Patrick Queen.
All right, there you go. So we have the hat trick to end it with Almar, Cinque, and Jack all taking Patrick Queen. That moves us on to number 25. Again, Tina also had the number 22 pick in the Vikings. Again, I had them going Christian Fulton at 22. Now I have them going receiver at 25. I have them going Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State. Again, I think he's a guy who's great after the catch. And Kirk Cousins gets the ball out of his hand quickly. We let Ayuk make the play. I have them going receiver at number 25. David, where do you have them going?
I, too, have them going receiver. I have them going with the arguably most talked about wide receiver as of recently, the workhorse himself, Jalen Reagor. A little bit of a reach, but at the same time, not only his work ethic, but his run after catch ability, his speed that the man brings after the ball's in his hands, absolutely insane. During his recorded pro day, he was clocked twice at a 4.2 and a 4.28 40-yard dash. That is absolutely insane. Any secondary will have issues trying to even catch up to that. So I do have Jalen Reagor going at 25 to the Minnesota Vikings, replacing Stephon Diggs, giving Adam Thielen a little bit of slack on the opposite side of the ball. Like Cinque said earlier, Olabisi Johnson is not a wide receiver 2, debatably not even a good third option. But I feel like Reagor in this situation would probably be the safest bet.
All right, we both have the Vikings taking a receiver at 25. Almar, where do you go with this pick?
I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I have the same pick as Hasham, Brandon Ayuk.
All right, again, yeah, another guy who's great after the catch. Kirk Cousins gets the ball out of his hand quick, lets the receiver make the play. Jack, are you going receiver as well, or?
I am also going receiver, and I don't think that I or the Vikings expected him to be on the board by the time their next pick rolled around. But Justin Jefferson has found a way to fall down to number 25, and he's a can't-miss guy. I mean, he's got all the tools to become a superstar wide receiver in the league. He's got a really high upside, and I don't see how they pass up on him at 25 if he falls that far. His fills in the hole that Stephon Diggs left, and it's a great pick for them at 25, getting one of the better receivers in the draft.
All right, we've all gone receiver. Cinque, are you following the mold, or are you going to break off here?
I'm breaking off the mold. At 25, the Minnesota Vikings get a steal as the former Iowa what are they? Hawkeyes or something like that?
Hawkeyes.
It is Hawkeyes.
Yes, the Iowa Hawkeye, AJ Epineza, falls to them. They got rid of Everson Griffin, and they're known as a team that likes to build in the trenches. So I feel like AJ Epineza at that is a perfect slide in because you got Daniil Hunter on the left side, who's a very, very good edge rusher. Then you bring Epineza in, he could learn the ropes. You also brought in Michael Pierce as your defensive tackle to replace Linval Joseph. And if you look at it, I know they need secondary, but also you got players like the dude from Utah, Jalen Johnson was his name?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You have him still on my board, and you have the other AJ Terrell. You have other cornerbacks that I feel like that they can wait on. Instead of getting a cornerback, you go out, you get a player that you're not going to be able to get any other pick, and you go out and grab him at 25.
Yeah, and again, Epinesa is a player. If he falls to you at 25, it's a gift. It's right into your lap, and you can't pass up on him. That moves us on to number 26. The Dolphins pick the last of their first-round pick. If they still have it, I have them going Josh Jones at 26. Again, you get offensive tackle help for Tua if you draft him, and I think at that point you have to go offensive tackle. David, real quick, who do you have Dolphins taking at number 26?
So on my Dolphins draft board, I have two people there. Second person being Josh Jones. First person being Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton still being available and following the mold of the Dolphins' way of drafting left tackles with quote-unquote drug issues. Mekhi Becton falls to the Miami Dolphins at 26 in a surprisingly major drop. So Mekhi Becton, 26 to the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins seemingly win this first round, no matter which way you put it. Even if their quarterbacks, in my case, Justin Herbert, even if he doesn't turn out to be the stud he planned out to be, they still win as far as potential, as far as where they've gotten picked, and it's a win-win-win for all of them.
All right. So again, David has an offensive lineman going. I also have an offensive lineman going to the Dolphins. Almar, who do you have?
I also am a disciple of the Operation Keep Tua Healthy, Keep Tua Upright. I have them going offensive line. I have them taking Ezra Cleveland with their pick because in my draft, Mekhi Becton is not available at this time.
Likewise. Jack, who do you have them going with at number 26?
So I've actually debated a bunch of different things with this pick. They can go in a few different ways, but I think they're going to lean towards the offense. That defense is looking pretty sturdy. So I think they're going to go running back. It comes down to three guys for me: DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, or Jonathan Taylor. Any of them would be a fine pick. But in my opinion, J.K. Dobbins just has that wow factor. He's more versatile. He can catch passes out of the backfield, and his speed in open field is out of this world. Just load up that offense with weapons and have them ready for when Tua is under center, and that offense is going to be electric in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I think if you add Dobbins to Tua and Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki, I think that's an offense you build towards the future with. Cinque, your favorite team, obviously, 26. Where do you have them going?
I got him going with the halfback from Georgia, DeAndre Swift. We don't have a halfback at the moment. I mean, actually, no, I lied. We do. Jordan Howard's a serviceable halfback, but I feel like he's just worked his way down to being not as a feature back, but being as like a complement back. And then you have DeAndre Swift learn the reins, and we also have Kalen Ballage. And I feel like it just makes us have a great quarterback, a great halfback room to go with our pretty new toys, and Mekhi Becton and
Tua.
And Tua, yeah, there we go. I could not had a brain fart, but yeah, I like going DeAndre Swift right there. I feel like he's a great value pick. I know we've been I know we've been connected to J.K. Dobbins, but I feel like Dobbins is gonna slide to the second round.
All right. So that concludes the Dolphins' first round. Next, we have the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to keep this quick. I have them going offensive line, Ezra Cleveland, Boise State. You have to keep, again, Russell Wilson. He can move around all he wants. You still want him in the pocket most of the time throwing the football. So I have them going Ezra Cleveland from Boise State. David, who do you have them taking?
The Jets draft just keeps on getting crazier. I had them trading back into the first round and getting their safety of the future, another LSU product, Grant Delpit, basically replacing Jamal Adams, what they lost, essentially the same player. I was debating between him and Antoine Winfield. Antoine Winfield is a little more versatile, but I feel like as far as that Jets scheme and especially what Jamal Adams brought to them, Grant Delpit is a perfect plug and play.
We
So
love it, Dave. We love it.
Grant Delpit to the
Christmas has
Jets.
come early for him.
Yes,
To the
sir.
Jets at pick 27.
Yeah, that's a dream scenario for the Jets, especially with a disgruntled superstar in New York. Almar, where do you have the Seahawks going with the number 27 pick?
I had them going pass rusher. I don't know if Jadeveon Clowney is still going to be a member of the Seahawks, but by the time this is released, so I have them going Yetur Gross-Matos from Penn State, as he's the best edge rusher that is available, and you need to replace pass rusher with the possible impending departure of Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah, I think that has a big hold on their plans and what they do. So we'll see how that works out. Jack, where do you have the Seahawks going?
So I debated on this pick as well. It really, for me, came down to offensive line or edge rusher because we don't know if Clowney's going to be back. If they do bring back Clowney, I think you go offensive line, but it doesn't look like they're willing to pay him what he wants. I think he'll be out of there, and they will go A.J. Epinesa, who falls to them at 27. Good value for the pick. Put up some crazy numbers at Iowa. I think he's got the ability to make an impact at the NFL level, and falling to 27, I think it's a good job by them filling a hole that they immediately had open up and, keep them continue to be a contender.
Yeah, that would be a great pick, especially at number 27 late in the first round to get a pass rusher like him. Cinque, where do you see them going with the number 27 pick?
Well, I see Seattle being Seattle and trading the pick away. They're going to trade the pick to the Buffalo Bills, who have not made any noise because they kind of traded their first-round pick for Stephon Diggs. And what they're going to do is they're going to draft, they're going to plan ahead, and they're going to beef up that defensive line, and they're going to get Yetur Gross-Matos from Penn State. I feel like Buffalo knows what their culture is, and that's having a great defensive line. Jerry Hughes is still a solid player, but he is getting up there in age. So I feel like they're going to go trade back in the first round. I don't know the details. Just know they're going to trade back in the first round. And we all know Seattle has one of the worst first-round picking choices like ever. So I feel like Buffalo's going to trade into the first round and get Yetur Gross-Matos and help out that defensive line even more.
Yeah, that's been the Seahawks' MO for a lot of years is, trade back and get into like the second, third, fourth round, which is where they find a lot of their guys. So, and again, with the Buffalo Bills, they lose Shaq Lawson in the offseason. You bring in a guy who can, play the defensive line and hopefully fill the void and, if not, do better than what Shaq Lawson was in Buffalo. But that being said, we are now down to our final 5 draft picks in the first round. We have the Baltimore Ravens, who got better on defense, added Calais Campbell this offseason. I had them going defense again at linebacker, taking Patrick Queen. It was between Kenneth Murray or Patrick Queen who's going to be the first, linebacker taken off the board out of these two. I have Murray going to the Saints, so I have Patrick Queen falling to 28 to the Baltimore Ravens. David, where do you go if you're the Ravens at number 28?
I had the Ravens making a trade, to the Buffalo Bills. Instead, I went into the details, but I figured that the Bills did get their first-round pick that they essentially needed, and they do wind up getting A.J. Epinesa, basically just sorting out that defensive line. Like you said, the loss of Shaq Lawson is pretty big. So they do get their guy to replace Shaq Lawson with A.J. Epinesa, and Baltimore just seemingly just moves back. Realistically, if they were to pick here, they would probably go wide receiver just to give Hollywood Brown a complimentary option on the opposite side. I don't feel like Willie Snead is the guy to be a good, decent number 2, but instead they do trade back. Like I said, this is a deep wide receiver class. They could find their guy in the second round.
All right. So David has the Ravens trading their pick to the Buffalo Bills. Almar, if you're the Ravens, where do you go with number 28?
All right, so Marshall Yonder retired for Baltimore. Their starting center, who I believe is, if I can get this name right.
It's Matt Skura.
Yes, he's rehabbing a knee injury. So
yeah, he had a bad knee injury. Yeah.
Yes, I have them going Cesar Ruiz from Michigan because you need to show up the offensive line. Marshall Yanda, that's a big departure. Your starting center is rehabbing a knee injury, so you don't know if he's going to be back for week 1. So you need to beef up the offensive line because your bread and butter is that running game, and you can get wide receivers later in the second round, later in the draft. You need to get your offensive line, shore that up, because that is what you were successful with last year. That was your running game. And so Cesar Ruiz is my pick.
Yeah, you can never go wrong shoring up the offensive line, especially with a run-heavy offense like the Baltimore Ravens. Jack, Ravens, number 28, where do they go?
I'm going to agree with you and go linebacker. They have a hole there, and like you, it was a discussion for me between Queen and Murray, who was going to be the first linebacker off the board. For me, it was Queen. That leaves Kenneth Murray, and he was, like you mentioned before, one of the only bright spots on a really bad Oklahoma defense, and that's got to be a bit of a concern how bad that defense was, but Murray has all the tools to make the transition to the NFL. And if we know one thing about the Ravens, it's that they are spectacular at developing draft talent. So I'm going to trust them on this one to develop all of Murray's skills and make him into a solid NFL linebacker.
All right, Cinque, where do you have the Ravens going at 28?
The Ravens, I'm sticking with y'all. Y'all some smart people, and I surround myself with smart people. I'm taking a linebacker, as y'all were talking about, and of course, the same dilemma y'all had, the same dilemma I had. Who's going first, Queen or Murray? And I got Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma going to the Baltimore Ravens to replace Patrick Owasu.
All right, there we go. We agree for the most part on the Ravens pick. Number 29, the Tennessee Titans, fresh off paying Ryan Tannehill a massive deal. Franchise tag Derrick Henry. I have them going cornerback at number 29. I have them taking A.J. Terrell. I don't think he's as high on my board as he is others, but I have them going corner at number 29, taking A.J. Terrell from Clemson. David, where do you go with this pick?
So I was debating between AJ Terrell, but ultimately Kenneth Murray falls in their lap. Can't go wrong with Kenneth Murray, especially this late in the first round. So Kenneth Murray just beefs up that little linebacking position a little bit more. They're not terrible. Did bring in Vic Beasley. Vic Beasley isn't the greatest, but at the same time gives you depth. Kenneth Murray can seemingly be the future. So Kenneth Murray at 29 to Tennessee Titans.
All right. Almar, where do you have the Titans going at number 29?
Okay, so I have them going cornerback. A lot of the mock drafts had Jeff Gladney going a lot sooner than this, so I'm going to have the Titans go best available with Jeff Gladney to shore up their secondary.
All right. Jack, where do you have them going?
Yes, so I think they got to go defense. They need some help on that defensive side of the ball. They need an edge rusher. So I'm going to go Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State. We've talked about him already. He's got some great athleticism and projects well to the NFL, helps out that defense, and keeps them strong off a very overachieving season.
All right. And Cinque, where do you think they go at number 29?
Tennessee, I mean, they lost their right tackle in Jack Conklin, but they're not at a good spot where they can really get a per se competent first-round right tackle. So I'm going to skip over that need. And they did trade away Jarrell Casey for a fifth-round pick and sent him to Denver. So even though he has been known to have a diluted sample, I'm going to go with Zach Bond why do I keep saying offensive? Outside linebacker from Wisconsin.
All right, there we go. Cinque with a little curveball with the Titans pick. Down to the last three picks, number 30, Mohammed's favorite team, the Green Bay Packers. He couldn't be with us today. He's a little under the weather. We hope you feel better, man. With the Packers, I have them taking T. Higgins at number 30. I think, receiver-wise, I have, after Devontae Adams, who can I really trust? I know David's a huge Alan Lazard fan, but, you add T. Higgins, who was, I think the most slept-on receiver in this draft, especially from where he was, just a bit ago. I think you get Aaron Rodgers, a second receiver. You slide Alan Lazard to number 3, Geronimo Allison, number 4, whatever you want to do with that, and you just enhance the offense even more. We know how they are with Aaron Jones, so they have a solid running game. But I think getting a number 2 receiver opposite of Devontae Adams would be really solid for them. David, who do you have them taking with the 30th pick?
So with the 30th pick, I have the Packers also going wide receiver. I have them debating between 3. I have Brandon Ayuk still on my draft board. I have T. Higgins on my draft board, and I have Laviska Shenault Jr. on my draft board. I am going with arguably the most slept on out of the three in Laviska Shenault. Laviska Shenault is probably the best route runner in this entire draft class. He has decent speed, but it gives him the dual threat route running ability between Devontae Adams and Laviska Shenault. It gives him a different factor. That wide receiving depth will be very deep with MVS, Geronimo Allison, Devin Funchess that they recently signed, and Alan Lazard. But I feel like Shenault could be the number 2 for the future, somehow be like that bridge to number 1 once either Devontae Adams wants to stay or whether he moves on, similar to how the Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams deal went. So at pick 30, the Green Bay Packers select Laviska Shenault Jr. out of Colorado.
All right, so we both have the Packers going receiver at number 30. Almar, what are your thoughts?
I also have them going receiver at number 30, but I had the receiver that I believe has the potential to be the most like Mike Evans in this draft with Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame. He's 6'4", 6'5", around 230 pounds. The measurables from the combine are completely off the charts, and I feel like with Devontae Adams being, I believe, one of the best, if not the best, route runner in football, Green Bay needs a deep threat and a big red zone threat. They re-signed Devin Funchess to a 1-year deal, but for the future, you need a bigger target in the red zone, and in the future, to maximize the last few years of Aaron Rodgers' tenure in Green Bay, you need a big target with Chase Claypool.
Yeah, Chase Claypool is, I think he could be the DK Metcalf of this draft, where you see that if you pair him with a quarterback like DK Metcalf was paired with Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers could get the most out of Chase Claypool than a lot of other QBs can. So that's honestly a really good pick. Jack, where do you have the Packers going with the 30th pick?
So I think we're all going to agree here. Offense or wide receiver is the pick for them. I debated a little bit on this pick. To me, it came down to Jalen Reagor or Brandon Ayuk. I'm going to go Jalen Reagor. He really spreads that defense out thin. He's got some burners. He's a great vertical threat. And Aaron Rodgers loves the deep ball, but Reagor also is very versatile. He can run the whole route tree, and he can go up and get the ball in a jump ball situation if he has to, and that'll pair perfectly with Aaron Rodgers, who knows exactly where to put the ball to give his wide receiver a chance. I think Reagor and Rodgers can wreak havoc on the NFL.
All right. Quay, we've all gone receiver. I think we all have different wide receivers. Where are you going for the Packers with the 30th pick?
I'm taking Jalen Reagor, wide receiver from TCU. I know there's a lot of people saying that he's gonna slip and go like in the second, third round, but I feel like wide receiver is such a huge need for Green Bay that I think that they don't let him slip anymore. And as I want to say it was David pointed out how good his 40 times were. So I feel like he's just gonna come up there, step up, be the number 2 guy. And to be honest, for me, it would have been Laviska Shenault, but Laviska's dealing with he had a really big surgery and, coronavirus, physicals, yada, yada, and stuff like that. I think it's just stopping them, and they're just going to go with the safer pick and Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, that's been a deteriorator for a lot of teams. It's just, not being able to get physicals in. So, that is a big reason as to why a lot of picks are going to be what they are. That brings us down to our final 2 teams, the 2 teams that competed in the Super Bowl. Again, I have the Niners here at 31. I don't know if if I were to assume, I think they're going to trade this pick, but just for the purpose of being in the first round, I have Xavier McKinney falling down at 31. I don't know how. Now that I look back at it, I'm actually looking at the draft again. I don't know how he fell down at 31, but that's what's written on my paper. I have him falling down at 31. Again, pairing with Jimmy Ward, it's good for the defense. I think the Niners don't have a lot of needs on their defense, but you add a player like that who has potential to be one of the best safeties in the league. So I have the Niners going with Xavier McKinney at 31. David, what do you have them doing?
I have them getting DeForest Buckner's replacement here in Julian Okwara. Not the flashiest pick, but at the same time fits that defensive system very well. Very, very, very good run stopper. Not horrible as far as pass rush ability, but I feel like as far as what the Niners are looking for on their defense, he will be a very good replacement for DeForest Buckner. So Julian Okwara does go 31 to San Francisco 49ers.
All right. Almar, what do you have the Niners doing with the 31st pick?
I had them just stocking up on defensive back. I had them going with Trevon Diggs with the 31st pick.
Again, another Alabama guy. You get a second cornerback too. Richard Sherman, Akello Witherspoon isn't what a lot of people thought he was. He struggled mightily, second half of the year especially. So it can't go wrong with getting another cornerback line up the opposite side of Richard Sherman. Jack, Niners 31. Where do they go?
Yeah, I'm also going to stay in the defensive backfield and go cornerback. I debated on this one. I thought about Diggs, like Almar said, but I'm going to end up going Jeff Gladney out of TCU. Started from day one at TCU, has that experience, 4-year starter. Tough guy, has all the physical attributes necessary to be a plug-and-play guy. Could use some help on the technique a little bit and needs to learn NFL defenses, but I think that in a system like the Niners have, he will become a very good cornerback in the league.
All right, we've all gone defense so far. Cinque, what do you have the Niners doing with that 31st pick?
With the 31st pick, I have the San Francisco 49ers choosing Grant Delpit, safety from LSU. How the hell did he fall this far? The world may never know. Same as the answer to how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? We don't know that answer. We don't know the answer of why Grant Delpit is all the way here at 31. But the sad 49ers who sadly lost that Super Bowl, they get Grant Delpit, and they reassure themselves at safety because they do need safety help.
All right, so me and Quay both went safety. I'm a bigger Grant Delpit fan than a lot of people. So I actually have Grant Delpit going to this last team of the first round, the Kansas City Chiefs. And obviously they already have Tyrann Mathieu, who is another LSU guy who changed around that defense from the moment he got there. But I think if you add Grant Delpit to this defense, let him not sit behind, but let him play alongside Tyrann Mathieu. You allow Tyrann Mathieu to be a lot more of a box safety, which he's really good at. Let him, rush the passer, do a lot of other things that he's capable of doing. I have the Chiefs going with Grant Delpit at number 32 with the last pick of the first round. David, where do you have them going?
Even though he had a very good Super Bowl, I do see Damian Williams as not a full 3-down back. So with the 32nd pick of the first round, the Kansas City Chiefs select Jonathan Taylor, running back out of Wisconsin. In my opinion, he is the best running back in the class. He gives you that Saquon-esque ability in breaking tackles, his speed, the ability to catch the ball. And we all know in that Kansas City offense, the pass is very effective. So that being said, I have Kansas City Chiefs with the 32nd pick selecting Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, that gives Patrick Mahomes another weapon to play with. And, imagine Patrick Mahomes play action run. You're not really scared of Damian Williams, but now you add Jonathan Taylor in the mix, who has Saquon Barkley-like ability. That make their offense that much scarier.
Exactly.
Almar, who do you have them going with at 32?
Like you, Hisham, I went defensive back. I don't know how I had him fall this far, but I'm gonna go with Xavier McKinney.
There you go. Yeah,
Um,
I had him going to the Niners at 31. So
I don't know how I made him slide this far, but again, Alabama defensive back. You can never go wrong with this.
This was the same exact reaction that Hashem had one pick ago. Hey, he was literally – I watched him scour his draft board. How did I let him fall this far? A great pick by both you guys. If he gets that far, that's a no-brainer.
yeah, especially to organizations like San Francisco and Kansas City who are winning organizations. You add a player like that, it makes them that much better. Jack, who do you have the Chiefs taking with the 32nd pick?
So I'm going to agree with Dave here and go running back. They aren't really weak anywhere. Like, they don't have any positions where they're desperate to draft a position. And DeAndre Swift has fallen to pick 32 for me. he might not be the most, jaw-dropping athletic guy. Like, he's not going to blow you away with his speed and open field, but he's a super smart back. He had a great career at Georgia, and pairing him with Patrick Mahomes gives me nightmares. And the Jets don't even play the Chiefs that often. So I would love to see that combo. Either way, DeAndre Swift or Jonathan Taylor will both be on the board there. And either one of those picks, I think, is a great job for them towards the tail end of the first round.
Let's get richer on offense. Jeez.
Especially, being the position they're in, the last pick of the first round, and you still have players like that available on the board, show how, loaded this draft really is. Cinquay, we're going to conclude the first round with you. Kansas City Chiefs, number 32 pick. Where do you think they go?
David, did you steal my draft board? I think you did. I got them taking that Wisco back, Jonathan Taylor. DeAndre Swift and Jonathan Taylor to me is 1A, 1B. Either of them, I think that they're both great players, but I feel like after that, it's just like a drop-off. Not like I would not say a significant one, but I would say it's kind of a drop-off from Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift to DK. I mean, not DK, JK, Dobbins, and those guys. But I feel like the weakest position they have is running back. They have Damian Williams, who to me, forever, he played on my team. He was a Miami Dolphin. I feel like he's not a number one running back. And I feel like if they needed a position to upgrade, then you have Tyreek Hill, you have Mecole Hardman, you have Sammy Watkins, you have arguably the best tight end in the NFL. You have a great offensive line. You have a great defensive line. You have subpar linebackers. Go through their team. Their secondary is they could use a corner because they did lose Kendall Fuller. But I feel like Jonathan Taylor at 32 is just such a beautiful pick for them. And you give Patrick Mahomes another weapon, oh, Lord. The NFL will be on smash.
Yeah, like I said, for them.
Really quickly, two things to add to what Quay said. I also contemplated going corner, so you weren't alone in that thought, Quay, where they're a little bit weak.
Yeah, they had right now. To me, I think their number one corner is like Rashad Breeland.
Yeah, and
that's
then
not a number one corner.
And then one of the other deciding factors that made me go running back over anything else, Damian Williams' contract is also expired in 2021. So they're going to have a hole there. They're going to have to figure out something there. And I think Damian Williams is going to want a little bit more money than they're going to be willing to pay him because he's been solid for them.
And also, don't forget, Jalen Ramsey's contract is coming up. And Jalen Ramsey has said multiple times that he would not mind playing for the Chiefs. And they're not a team that – if they don't have a corner, they'll be bad. They're going to be a great team regardless. They're a playoff team regardless. But so that's a storyline to watch on.
That's a nightmare scenario.
Yeah,
they get Jalen Ramsey. It's done up for the league. Like they're winning the chip like the next 15 years straight. Like never losing.
Yeah, they're not losing a game. Keep in consideration the fact that currently today, as of April 18, 2020, they have less than $200 in cap. So if somehow figure a way to either extend, because you got to remember, Patrick Mahomes' contract is up within the next 2 years. So
that is true.
You have to pay Mahomes. I'm paying Mahomes before I even think about offering Jalen Ramsey a contract.
Well, obviously, yeah. Come on, Mahomes is a Super Bowl MVP, 5,000 yards, 50 in his quote unquote rookie season. The guy's a stud, absolute stud, best quarterback.
On top of that, Travis Kelce's contract is up within the next 2 years.
You have to pay him.
Did Tyreek Hill re-up? I'm not even.
Yeah, he did.
So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he does have a $13 million cap hit plus. So there's a lot of money between now and when Jalen Ramsey is a free agent.
Yeah, but you've seen crazier things happen. Remember when Alshon Jeffrey went to the Eagles, they had like 4 cents in their bank account and magically was able to get Alshon Jeffrey, and with that came a championship.
Right. So
you've seen crazier things happen.
They have, a ridiculous amount of choices, even just at the 32nd pick. And with that being said, that concludes our first round mock draft. We're hoping to get this out to you definitely before Thursday morning. Again, it's been fun doing this. I hope we can do this, on a consistent basis, especially with everything going on. This provides us to just, sit back, do what we love, talk sports. If any of you guys want to jump in before we head out and say whatever you want to say.
Yeah, real quick. just want to wish everybody a safe being at home. Mo, we miss you, bud. Sucks not having you today. Hopefully you're feeling better. Just to reiterate what Shaham said, we're doing this to basically get a lot of people's minds off of the unfortunate pandemic we're dealing with. So hopefully everybody stays clean, stays safe. And yeah, don't forget, check out our blog, Clutch Factor Sports. We'll be definitely dishing out some articles very soon, including a winners.
Not really much else to do.
Right, including a winners and losers of this offseason. We're probably going to get that done after the draft just so we can get a full, complete offseason look. It's been fun. Thank you for listening. We appreciate it all.
Yeah, I'd also like to add to that. Everybody stay healthy and stay inside. Keep flattening the curve. It's worked so far, but don't think that just because the numbers are going down, we can hop right back outside. Keep doing what has worked so far, and this thing will get better a lot quicker. And also trust in Joe Douglas. I can't wait to see this draft for the Jets.
Hey, I mean, listen, if anything happens, by the way, my mom has Joe Douglas might be the second coming. Brian Cashman and Jesus combined. So,
yeah, I just want to piggyback off of what y'all said. Flatten the curve, stay safe, wash your hands, take your shower, don't be dirty, of course. In Chris Greer, we trust, of course. Miami 305 live, baby. You know how we slide. And just keep everybody in spirits, in good spirits, because this isn't just affecting people health wise. This is affecting people financially, because I haven't been to work in so long. It's ridiculous. So I'm trying to stay healthy in my family, and a lot of people in my family have a lot of autoimmune diseases and all stuff like that. So I just hope all of y'all stay safe, stay well, stay happy, and just do what you need to do to get this done, so then we could go back. Y'all females can have y'all hot girl summer. Y'all boys can go chill with the boys and do all that hood rat activities.
Yeah, and on top of that, quick thank you to all the essential workers that are still out there, doing
100%.
I agree.
All the people that still work at stores like ShopRite and all these places that allow us to still go out and get groceries and put food on our table. Thank you very much for that. And with that being said, this concludes the first episode. We will be back after the draft to do a recap of the draft. Thanks to Colin Coward, we'll do our 3-word game. We'll try to get everybody to have 3 words about every team after the draft and how their offseason's been. And again, thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back next week. Thank you.